And do it now. And imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
And now we can report that the son of a Omicron has found its way to Carson Wentz.
No.
Ari Mira, Pro Football Focus. My Sports Update. What? The Colts just placed QB Carson Wentz on the reserve COVID-19 list. Wentz is unvaccinated. His decision. So he's out for 10 days if he tests positive and 5 days if he's positive.
Oh, my God.
That's game. That's game.
There you go, Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee Show, YouTube, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Radio. So, Carson Wentz is out, and you heard Pat McAfee, and I think we all know who Pat McAfee roots for, right?
He's a huge Colts fan, isn't
So
he?
he played there for 10 years. So you hear how McAfee is about, oh, my God, that's game, oh, no, oh. Again, I just don't think this Raider game, it doesn't matter when you're trying to factor it into the playoffs, unless you think that, the difference between the 5 and the 6 seed matters in the AFC. And honestly, I don't. Now, I'm the one who's been complaining about the 1 and the 2 seeds. But the difference between that is 2 home games. If you're the 5 or the 6 seed, you're not getting a home game in the AFC playoffs. So Indianapolis, a dome team, which would matter. Indianapolis, a dome team, they're not going to be able to play at Lucas Oil Stadium anyways. It was never meant to be. You're going to Cincinnati, then you're either going to Tennessee or Kansas City, then you're going to Kansas City or Tennessee or whoever beats the Titans. Because honestly, in my heart, I would love to tell you all that the Titans are definitely going to get 2 home games. But I'm telling you, I see 7-2 upset, and it makes me nervous. So the Carson Wentz getting COVID, okay, you lose to the Raiders. So what? It's almost like, if the Titans lose to the Dolphins, and I know nobody here wants to talk about this, but if the Titans lose to the Dolphins on Sunday, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. Because Cincinnati still has to beat the Chiefs in order to even have a prayer at jumping the Titans, and we know that's probably not going to happen. And then Buffalo, I think Buffalo, even if they went out, they're a game behind the Titans, plus the Titans have the tiebreaker, so Buffalo can't even jump the Titans unless they lose both games. And they're not going to lose to the Texans. So it doesn't really matter. The game against the Dolphins only matters if Indianapolis wins both games. And even then, it doesn't matter if the Titans win the Texan game. Just like how with Indy, it doesn't matter if they lose the Raider game on Sunday, because if they beat Jacksonville, they are 7% in the playoffs. And 13 different things would have to happen. So it's okay, Pat McAfee. It's okay. Let's go to your phone. 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
JD texts in with the spicy one. The devil's advocate in me wonders if the Titans are strategically placing players on the COVID list so they won't have to worry for the playoffs. This is a total conspiracy theory. I know it's not true, but it also makes you wonder.
Well, here's the thing. If the NFL were to find out that somebody were doing that, you would be banned from the league maybe for forever. If the Titans, it's one thing for Antonio Brown to have a fake vaccination card. Any suspension the league hands out or any fine they give, the union gets right there involved, and there's a collective bargaining agreement, and there's all kinds of stuff. Titans get caught forging people on the COVID list. John Robinson's done with the NFL for forever. Now, I don't know how much money John Robinson makes. I can only assume. And I promise you, he's not trying to lose his job for forever. You start lying to the league, and they will knock you out of that league so fast. The Braves had a general manager in baseball who was paying players under the table in, Venezuela. And, that's bad. Mm-hmm. But, the outrage amongst the baseball people compared to how much I think people actually cared, I didn't think really added up. It was like, how dare they give this guy's coach $100,000 to get this guy to sign for $200,000 or whatever it was. But when baseball brought the general manager in, they asked him what had happened, kind of like getting called into the principal's office, and he lied. And so that guy has been banned for baseball for forever. Like Pete Rose, Joe Jackson level ban. Banned forever. And all the players that he went out and acquired just won the World Series. And he's got nothing to do with it. You think John Robinson and Mike Vrabel are going to risk that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, because that's what happens if you do that. Like, if that happens, here's what I think would happen if the Titans got caught. Maybe I'm over the top here. I don't know. Here's what I think would happen if the Titans got caught putting players on the COVID list for positive tests and then saying, like let's take Bud Dupree. And I don't know if Bud Dupree's vaccinated or not. Let's use the assumption he's not. Not for any reason for Bud, but more so because once you're out, once you have it, you don't test for 90 days. You are in the clear for 90 days, and the season is over in 90 days. So let's say that the Titans were to say, hey, Bud and Julio are unvaccinated, so let's put them on the COVID list, pretend that they tested positive, and then that way they won't have to test for 90 days, and we'll definitely have Bud and Julio for the rest of the way. First off, don't you think the number one person the Titans would have added to the COVID list would be Derrick Henry?
Probably so.
Okay, so that's part of it. The second thing here would be if you got caught doing that and that guy got COVID and it was like, how did the guy get COVID 13 days after he got COVID?
Busted.
You're done. Like, my guess is at that point, Robinson's out, Vrabel's probably out. Anybody who knew, like text messages, emails, like the league is coming in now. They're all out. So there are very few things where, like, Burke Nihill is the president of the Titans, where, like, I would involve him in this discussion. But, like, this is one of those things where he's walking to Robinson's office and he's probably firing him if this comes down. So to the conspiracy theorist in the text line, no. What's next?
Another texter checks in with a much milder take and says, I think the Titans' high percentage of vaccinated players could be a benefit for them going into the playoffs. No disrespect to this texter, but duh.
Well, but see, like, everybody has high vaccination rates. And here's the other thing, except for the Colts. The Colts and Washington, those are the two teams that don't have high vaccination rates. But here's what bothers me about the Titans and the COVID situation. You and I both know that A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, if something were to happen to one of them, then against any of these teams, Bengals, Bills, Colts, Patriots, if A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry can't play, the odds of the Titans winning any of those games is like 5%. So if you were to put yourself in that position where you have these high vaccination rates, that's good, except that you can still be positive. And if Derrick is positive on a Thursday, even if they cut the guideline to 5 days instead of 10,
he's out on Sunday.
Derrick's out. Like, that's a big deal. And so, I mean, I'm glad the Titans have a high vaccination rate. I also do remember, like, the first Robinson press conference at training camp where Robinson was talking about how the vaccination rates for the Titans are high. But then he talked about, yeah, we got a lot of guys that either have the vaccine or have the antibodies. And the more I think about it, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Guys that have the antibodies? What does that mean? So, like, guys that had COVID, you're counting as vaccinated even though they're not vaccinated.
They're counting it as they're less likely to test positive in the near future. Yes, I assume that that's what that means.
That as far as the rules are concerned, I'm not sure that really matters. But then I was reading, like, the Titans sent out this, the NFL had a memo today on, like, how if you cover the team, you have to get a booster, basically. So it says the following individuals are not subject to this requirement. So this is the NFL talking about media people who cover the Titans. So think about, like, Paul Kaharski, for example.
Okay.
Like, Paul has to be vaccinated in order to cover the team. Paul has to be boosted into the playoffs in order to cover the team. Like, those are the rules. You may not like them. Those are the rules. The following individuals are not subject to this requirement. An individual who is not eligible for a booster pursuant to CDC definition, which I don't even know who that would be. An individual who has tested positive for COVID in the past 90 days, or an individual who received monoclonal antibodies within the immediate preceding 90 days, or an individual whose S antibody level on an antibody test administered via BRL at the club facility is 2,500 or greater.
Whoa.
What the hell's that mean?
I don't even know. I've never even heard of that.
I kind of just want to, I've been boosted, so I guess I can't, call the Titans and say, hey, I'd like to come to the facility and get my antibodies measured, but I'd kind of like to know, right?
It'd be interesting.
I'd like to know, I've had COVID, I've been fully vaccinated, now I'm fully boosted. Do I have the most antibodies out there? I don't know. I guess I'd like to know. I don't know what, so honestly, I don't know what any of this bullcrap means. I just know that if you get the virus, you're out. And if you're not vaccinated, you have to test every day. And the likelihood, you got people that are getting pulled out of teams that have no idea that they have it. And it's like, hey, you're positive. And so now they're eliminating the testing asymptomatic players that are unvaccinated. That are vaccinated, but they're still going to text the vaccinated guys. So I don't know. Carson Wentz out with it for Sunday, unless they change the rules or unless it was just a close contact. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters if the Colts beat the Raiders. I don't think this what about the Colts or the Pat McAfee thing. I just don't think any of that.
I think the only thing that could matter, and this is complete just speculation, is if Carson Wentz is positive, are there going to be more positive tests for the Colts down the stretch? Seeing as though that they have a very low vaccination rate. And if they do test positive,
their entire team is already tested positive.
It would be closer to the Raiders game and the following game.
Their entire team is positive. Darius Leonard missed Saturday. Quentin Nelson missed Saturday. One of the tackles missed Saturday. The other tackle is out now because of COVID. Their entire team has had this virus. So the Colts, I actually think, are in fine shape going into the playoffs. Crazy, I know. 615-737-1025. There was another element of that. I think there's a lot of people that are tired of hearing about COVID, even though I'm not really talking about the COVID aspect of COVID, more so talking about the winning football games or the playoff element of this. There was another element that I thought about listening to Darren Donick and Chase today that Pro Football Talk brought up that I want to discuss next. We'll do that as well as take your calls. 615-737-1025 is our phone number on Stillman & Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. I absolutely love TriStar Moving. I moved over a year ago with those guys, and they took great care of me. Like most people, I hate moving, but when you've got TriStar Moving, they are the best. That's why they're TriStar movers with 5-star service. From the initial phone call to the final signature, moving was a breeze. They offer home protection covering your floors, banisters, railings, door jambs, and even the doors themselves. And they're always upping the game when it comes to mover training. They have a brand new state-of-the-art storage facility in Mount Juliet as well. Their owners, Garrett and Robert, are true Nashvillians, and they want to take care of the people of their hometown, and that's why their company is absolutely booming. So if you're looking to move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. 615-640-1219 or visit their website at nationalmoving.org/radio, where they'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nationalmoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg, and this is Smashville.
Forsberg in the circle. He scores! Philip Forsberg! What a rock!
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Since their doors opened in 1898 in England, Arkansas, Bank of England Mortgage has been providing down-home exceptional service. Bank of England's success is due to the talent of their loan officers and their access to hundreds of mortgage products at the industry's best pricing. Bank of England Mortgage has 3 Middle Tennessee locations ready to serve you. Go to BOE1214.com or call 615-823-1215. Bank of England Mortgage is a division of Bank of England Mortgage. Equal housing lender, member FDIC, NMLS 418-481.
What's up, everybody? This is Teron Davenport, and I am here to tell you about Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire service. New tires, rotating, balancing, flat repair, torquing, they do it all. I can tell you this from personal experience. Just a couple weeks ago, I was at the Titans facility. They came there and changed my tires, all 4 of them. They did an excellent job. My car is riding extra smooth now. If you're in need of tire service, be sure to check them out at freedomtireguys.com. If you don't see the tires you want, they'll go ahead and get it for you.
Now,
Nashville, your home for the Tennessee Vols taking on the Purdue Boilermakers in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl is ESPN 102.5 The Game and 93.3 Classic Hits on December 30th. The Vols finished an exciting regular season with 7 wins, and the Boilermakers bring an impressive 8-win team to town. It's the Vols and Purdue in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl on ESPN 102.5 The Game and 93.3 Classic Hits. Sponsored locally by Mercedes-Benz of Music City and Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
It's time to save cash fast with the Game Deal of the Week. Eat, drink, and be merry with Downtown Dollars. This digital gift card is redeemable at hundreds of your favorite spots downtown. Right now at thegamenashville.com/deals. Get $50 free with your purchase of a $100 digital gift card while supplies last. With Downtown Dollars, you've got more to spend at an old favorite or discover one of the many new destinations in downtown's growing neighborhoods.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and Craneworks and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So Carson Wentz is on the COVID list for the Colts, pretty much for sure out against the Raiders unless they change some kind of rules or anything else like that. But I was listening to Darren Donick and Chase today, and Darren was talking about the line and how the line was moving. And while they were having this discussion, he talked about how the line had dropped like 4 points in favor of the Raiders. And Chase was trying to figure out why. And then immediately Darren goes, Carson Wentz just been put on the COVID list. And then by the time they were done with the discussion, the number was off the board, which normally happens when there's like a big story of something. Then they readjust the number, then they put it back out there. Pro Football Talk noticed the same thing. Point spread started moving toward Raiders before Colts put Wentz on COVID reserve. Michael David Smith of Pro Football Talk writes, the Colts announced that Carson Wentz was going on the COVID-19 reserve list at 1:22 Eastern time today, but some in the gambling community appeared to know it was coming. The point spread began moving towards the Raiders in Sunday's game against the Colts about half an hour before the news that Wentz will miss the game became official. Several people who pay close attention to the NFL betting lines began speculating on Twitter that Wentz must be headed to the COVID list because the point spread had shifted from the Colts being favored as much as 9 points to the Colts being favored as little as 5. Typically, the only thing that moves a point spread that much, that suddenly, is a starting quarterback's injury. So, what do we think about that? Because I used to think that Floyd and I used to argue about this all the time. You know, when we started the show, gambling, sports betting was not legal in Tennessee, and it was really not legal in most of America. The Supreme Court, I believe it was 2018, maybe it was 2017, when the Supreme Court basically said, sports betting's legal. But when that happened, Floyd, longtime NFL guy, and the NFL for a long time was like, gambling is bad. I mean, I remember he thought it was amazing that they were putting a team in Las Vegas or that they would have ads in the stadium for BetMGM or FanDuel or Bally's or whoever. Because for 40 years, for him, it was gambling bad. And now all of a sudden it's like, gambling good. Come on, gamble. Let's go. Official partner. We got the Mannings here telling you about our sports books. Come on. We got Jamie Foxx telling you about our sports books. Come on, come on. By the way, FanDuel Sportsbook's my official sportsbook app. I just want everybody out there to know that. But Floyd was always worried that because the proliferation of gambling was going to ultimately affect the league. And I told him, I'm like, look, if there are bad actors that are doing this, they're already doing it. Like, gambling was big enough already before it was legal everywhere that if people were throwing games, which I'm sure has happened, officials throwing games, which I'm sure has happened. But if it was going to happen, it was already happening. And we used to kind of argue about that really more off-air than on-air. But, I mean, how can Vegas know an hour before the Colts put Wentz on the list? Before Adam Schefter reports this kind of stuff? How can the insiders be that far in that they've got it better than Schefter? Because the way that I feel like most of this stuff works, Adam Schefter is represented by CAA. A lot of the people around the league are represented by CAA. And the way my gut tells me a lot of this happens is something happens with somebody at CAA, somebody from CAA tells somebody else from CAA, and Adam Schefter has the news. You notice the Titans, which are a very CAA organization, but have you noticed most of their news gets broken by Tom Pelissero or Ian Rappaport of NFL Network? Most of their news does. You know who broke the Derrick Henry story? Adam Schefter. You know who's represented by CAA? Derrick Henry. So I guess this is a long way of saying if the gambling insiders know before the NFL, like TV insiders, holy smokes, that's got to concern you as a gambler. I mean, this is like Wall Street. Like, you know that when you play the stock market, you watch CNBC, you're like, oh, that's a good stock I should invest in. You know, like the sharps and everything, like they already know. Like they've already been in, they've pumped it, they've already done it. So, isn't this a little disconcerting?
Oh, absolutely. But also, I mean, does it concern you as a gambler? Does it concern you as, does it concern insiders to know that they are going to be second, that now Vegas can serve essentially as a news source? That you're not going to know what happened, but you're going to know that there is something to come? Except that, is it really new? Is it really new that Vegas gets a hunch before everybody else? I feel like this has been going on for as long as I've been a sports fan. It's not new, but now we have access to it. Now all it takes is for me to open my phone and to realize that the Colts line has dropped 3 points. And for that to, ring up an alarm bell in my head, that's pretty drastic on a Tuesday when there's no news that has been announced that there's been an injury or something happening within Indianapolis. So what is to come? Because before, I mean, like, if you're in Vegas and you can see that thing happening, then, like, great. But, like, in Nashville, we wouldn't be able to see that happening. But now it is so accessible that that we can now be sort of kind of used as a news source. Does that concern you does that concern Adam Schefter as an insider?
That's not how
Does
I worry
that concern Bettors?
I think about this. Whoever's got this inside access just got to pick the Colts or pick the Raiders at +9.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's not a level playing field.
No.
Like, I'm not going to say that's a federal crime, but I think it might be. Like, I think if you're getting inside access, like, imagine being the NFL. It's like
the equivalent of counting cards.
Imagine being the NFL. Somebody at the Colts talked to somebody who's got a lot of money and put a lot of money on the Raiders +9. That's the only way that line moves like that. Somebody at the Colts who knew Carson Wentz was going out. Might be, and I'm not accusing anybody, but it could be the player, it could be the position coach, it could be the head coach, it could be the trainer, it could be the assistant trainer, it could be the doctor, it could be the team president, it could be anybody. Somebody said to somebody, hey, Carson's out. That Raiders +9, drill it. And they did. And if I'm the NFL, I'm getting down to the bottom of that. Because if you've got a head coach or you've got a team trainer or you've got somebody like this that is giving out information and it's getting to the bettors, that's a big deal. That is a big deal because you are one incident away from becoming professional wrestling, and the NFL knows that. And I know that because Floyd told me that the NFL knows that. There was one time, gosh, I don't know if Floyd wants me telling this story, but, I'll tell it. There was a guy who was in an organization that Floyd was running. Okay, the Titans/Oilers. And I don't know if this were the Titans or the Oilers, and I don't even know who this person was. But they had basically gone out and they were selling player information.
Whoa.
And the NFL caught wind of it. And the NFL security is pretty detailed. I mean, you're talking, there's the FBI and there's the NFL security, and I don't know which one is, stronger. I guess the FBI has subpoena power and stuff like that the NFL doesn't have, but the NFL can kick you out of the league unilaterally, and the FBI. Floyd calls guy in the office, asks him if it's true. He says, yeah, Floyd fires him on the spot. Because had he not fired him on the spot, the NFL would have done it for him. But, that's how sharp the NFL is when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, I'm just, again, I think it's wild to me that information is out there. And if I'm the NFL, I'm getting down to it right there. And I don't care who it is. I don't care. If it's Irsay, I'm doing something about it. Because you are one of these incidents away. One incident of a referee throwing the flag at the wrong time because he's got $100,000 on the game. You're one incident
different.
But you're one incident of anything. We're looking at the line moving an hour before a move became official, and we're questioning the sanctity of the gambling in that. Anything stronger than that would be borderline the NBA. When I was a kid, the Tim Donaghy scandal happened, and the NBA, I remember David Stern having a press conference and the look on his face when he had that press conference and thinking man, this is a big deal. And obviously it's a big deal. Sacramento got robbed and the Lakers got an NBA championship out of it. You are one gambling slip up away from people looking at you like professional wrestling. That incident happened in the NBA 20 years ago. Which league of the pro sports do you most associate being fixed with gambling?
NBA.
There you go. 615-737-1025. We'll just go to your phones because I see them. This is on the table. Wentz is on the table. We're rocking and rolling today. Chad Withrow wants to come on today. We're not going to have a show Friday because we've got the college football playoff. And we're not going to have a show Thursday because we've got the Music City Bowl. So Chad Withrow wants to come on today. He's going to come on at 5 o'clock because I think he wants to yell at me about my Tennessee take.
I think he does too.
Embrace debate. So we will be doing that, I guess, later today on the show. Hey, FanDuel Sportsbook's my official sportsbook app, by the way. I just want everybody to know that. Turn every Tuesday into payday with TNT Tuesdays on the FanDuel Sportsbook. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. FanDuel is giving customers $10 back every Tuesday. Just bet $10 or more same-game parlay on an NBA on TNT game. And a same-game parlay lets you combine the money line, point spread, player props, and more all into one wager. There are so many options you have from the NBA market, like player point total, rebounds, assists, money line, over, under, point spread, you name it. It's the perfect way to turn a small bet into a big win. And win or lose, you're guaranteed $10 added to your account. FanDuel is easy to use, and it's easy to register, easy to deposit, and when you win, they'll pay you in as little as 2 hours. Get $10 back every Tuesday, win or lose with TNT Tuesdays. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 and make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code JGM. Exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, 21 and older, and present Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Warm again today. We are in the 60s on our way to 70s this afternoon. We'll have cloudy skies, we'll have windy conditions, and we'll have isolated to scattered storms throughout the day.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Boomba's Craft Pizza and Tap House invites you to join them for all this year's college football bowl game and playoff action. Bama, Cincy, Georgia, or Michigan. Who will win it all? Boomba's has countless big screen TVs and a huge video wall to watch it all go down. Enjoy their 2-time award-winning best pizza in America, featured on the Food Network, and 100% crafted for you. Wash it all down with their award-winning happy hour with $2 Boom Brews and select domestic pints. Locations in Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Spring Hill, and East Nashville. Pizza, beer, sports. See you there, Nashville.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. Don't miss our New Year's special. Save up to $1,000 on Sleep Number 360 smart beds, plus special financing. Ends Monday. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey is the official whiskey of the NFL pregame broadcast on ESPN 1025 The Game. Screwball is the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. Made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter, Screwball is all natural flavor to be enjoyed as a straight shot, in an espresso martini, peanut butter old fashioned, or a PB&J shot with a berry liqueur. Check out screwballwhiskey.com/recipes for more. Be sure and ask for Screwball by name at your favorite watering hole in Nashville.
Enjoy responsibly. 2021 Screwball Spirits LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Darren McFarland.
He's cool. He's got a personality, and they make fun of him.
Willie Donick.
Would this be a fun guy to come to work and hang around with all day?
Chase McCabe.
They're just like, hey, we need you to play yourself.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
So I don't know if this counts as proof or not on Carson Wentz testing positive for COVID. We don't know if it's a close contact or if it's positive, but is that or a close contact because he's unvaccinated? And I guess those are what the rules are. I actually reached out to somebody in the NFL today, and I was like, so is it still close contact, unvaccinated 5 days? And the person was like, look, the rules are so fluid, like who knows nowadays what the rules are.
And the rules have also changed a couple of times since last season, so it's tough to keep up with.
Well, I'm
vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
I'm only worried about the rules from the beginning of this season. I knew what the rules were at the beginning of this year. So if it were the beginning of this year, Carson Wentz, if he's a close contact, is out for 5 days, and then he comes back and he still has to test every day. Unless he was positive, then he's out for 10 days, and then he comes back and doesn't have to test for 90 days, which would take him through the end of the playoffs. But nobody is saying that he tested positive. They're just saying that he's on the list, except Zach Kiefer at The Athletic writes, Carson Wentz, the headline, Phillip Rivers, ? Sam Ehlinger, ? Carson Wentz tests positive, and the Colts have a decision to make. Quote, they had to know this was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. And truth be told, they should be thankful it happened now and not in a week or two when the playoffs arrive and the Indianapolis Colts will no longer have the luxury of having games on their schedule they can afford to lose. The Colts placed Carson Wentz on the reserve/COVID-19 list Tuesday, meaning they will be without their starting quarterback for 10 days. I don't know that because, again, nobody is saying that he tested positive. Maybe they're just assuming he tested positive. Maybe they know that he tested positive and no one's going to announce it. I don't know. But there is a big distinction. If the rules have not completely changed, there's a big distinction between the two. And that's because if Wentz is just a close contact, he's out for 5 days, he misses this game. And then if Wentz is a close contact again, he's out. And if Wentz tests positive later down the road, because, again, he was just a close contact this time, then he's out. But maybe they don't even do the close contacts anymore.
And they could implement that new rule change with the CDC recommendations of quarantining shrinking from 10 days to 5 days. So if they decide to do that, then that's a completely different story as well.
But, see, that doesn't matter if the rule for unvaccinated players with close contacts stay the same.
But it matters if he tested positive.
It matters if he tests positive on a Monday of a playoff week. That is when it would matter. So if he tests positive on Wednesday of a playoff week and they play on Saturday or Sunday, he's out.
Yes.
Even if it's 5 days. So it only matters like in a specific scenario.
Right.
So I don't know. Just reading the tea leaves again. If he is positive, I think that's a good news. I think that's good news for the Colts. I actually do. Let's go back to your phones. Again, we got the Vegas thing on there too. How did they know an hour before it was even announced that Wentz was going on the COVID list? How did Vegas know? How did the line shift so quickly? Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025.
One texter checks in and says, why does it matter if Carson Wentz is out when they just run the ball anyways?
Because at some point your quarterback has to make a throw. And we can use the Titans as an example. They threw for 80-something yards against the New England Patriots in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago. Derrick Henry ran for like 180 yards. Those two throws, Tannehill down the middle of the field to Ferkser for a touchdown, and Tannehill on 3rd and 8 on the sideline to Ferkser, those two throws were two of the biggest plays of the game. The next week, the Titans played the Ravens in a 0-0 game. Ryan Tannehill hit Jonnu Smith for a touchdown. In a 7-0 game, Ryan Tannehill hit Khalif Raymond for a 40-yard touchdown, and you were up 14-0. People forget that while everybody likes to talk about Trent Dilfer, they forget the fact that he threw a ball on a busted coverage down the sidelines to Shannon Sharp against the Titans that led to their only offensive touchdown in that game, and he hit Brandon Stokely, I believe, for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Because throwing matters in the NFL. And I don't know if you watched the Saints last night, but there is a difference between, we'd rather not throw it, and we can't throw it. Miami, we'd rather not throw it unless we throw it to Jalen Waddle. The Saints can't throw it with that guy out there. There is a monumental difference. Indianapolis needed Carson Wentz to make one big throw Saturday night. He made it. Can Sam Ehlinger make that throw? I don't know. I didn't think that Tom Brady could make all those throws, and he won the Super Bowl. So this is a scenario that Indianapolis finds themselves in. You don't want to put Logan Woodside in the game in the playoffs. Even if you want to give it to Derrick Henry every play, you do not want to put Logan Woodside in the playoffs because everybody has to throw at some point. Joe Flacco hit a Hail Mary at the end of the game against Denver in their Super Bowl run. At some point, you got to throw.
And I would think that the Raiders would want to do everything in their power to put the ball in Sam Ehlinger's hands. They would do everything in their power to stop Jonathan Taylor.
Sure, but everybody who plays the Colts is going to do that.
Yes, but I think they want the ball in Sam Ehlinger's hands much more than they would want it in Carson Wentz's.
Yeah, but I still
as bad as you think Carson Wentz is.
I still think the sellout, though, is the same. Like, the sellout is the same. Jonathan Taylor will not beat us. Okay. It's like, I see what you're saying. It's like a baseball lineup where it's like we're walking Barry Bonds no matter what. So if it's Jeff Kent who's behind him, we have to pitch to Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent is more likely to hit the ball out of the ballpark than, say, Ray Durham, who I think later replaced Jeff Kent in the Giants lineup. I understand that. The point I guess I'm making is that any team who plays, they're going to try to take Jonathan Taylor out no matter what. Like, their entire game plan should be to not let Jonathan Taylor win the game. Plus, the Raider game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the Colts. Colts can easily lose this game, and they still have a 90% chance of making the playoffs. And all the Colts have to do is beat Jacksonville the last week of the year. And I believe they can beat Jacksonville with Sam Ehlinger at quarterback because I think Jacksonville's done. By the way, did you see that effort Jacksonville's defense had on the Zach Wilson touchdown scramble? They don't care anymore.
They want to go to Cabo.
They're done.
They want to go to Cabo.
They're done with that organization right now. They're done with that coaching staff. They're done. Coming up next, Mike Vrabel with some interesting words yesterday in support of Ryan Tannehill. And did he shine the spotlight on somebody else? We'll discuss next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
If I'm the official, I would send both teams to the locker room and say, this is going to stop.
The voice of the fan.
Our entire team's a MASH unit right now.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention Nice List recipients. The Mercedes-Benz winter event is here. Make this season your reason. Forget the halls, deck the garage. Hark, the turbo engines sing. Like hot cocoa in a blizzard, this opportunity won't last long. Hurry for these exclusive offers from Nashville's two-time Best of the Best award-winning Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Just one exit from the airport. Go to mbofmc.com.
Hey everybody, Robbie Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's. Jasper's is a casual restaurant and bar located on West End Avenue, equipped with TVs, a game room available for private events, a grab-and-go market, and free parking. Yes, free parking. This neighborhood spot is Nashville's new go-to restaurant and bar. You can try their selection of elevated bar food ranging from appetizers to chicken sandwiches to flatbread pizzas and the famous Smash Burger, as well as any of their delicious cocktails. So visit my friends at Jasper's, located at 1918 West End Avenue, and tell them that Robbie sent you.
Hi guys, are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills?
Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The WAVE technology at Hillside Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction today and get your love life back just in time for the holidays. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
This is Sean Fort, Director of Sales of this radio station. I just want to say happy holidays to all of our listeners and customers. We're so thankful for you, and we wish you a happy and safe New Year.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So I'm reading Scottie Pippen's book.
Oh, boy, how is that?
I am actually enjoying it.
Good.
I will say this. Scottie Pippen, clearly he wrote the book because he's mad at Michael Jordan for The Last Dance, right?
Yes.
So Scottie Pippen writes this book because he's mad at Michael Jordan, and he talks about how Michael kind of just treated the teammates like props. So all Scottie ever does in this book is he talks about all the other players on the team. So anytime it's like, yeah, we won that game, Michael had 36 points. But let's not forget Craig Hodges. And let's not forget what Brad Sellers did and Dave Corzine. And don't forget about those guys, John Paxson, B.J. Armstrong. Don't forget about them. And one of my favorite parts about it is Scottie is incredibly sensitive and petty. Incredibly sensitive. Like he talks about making the All-Star team in 1990, and then how he didn't make the All-Star team in 1991, and at that point, he didn't believe in the All-Star game anymore. He was done with it. Like, I hate it. Like, Scottie, calm down. It's okay. You didn't make it once. It's fine.
Okay.
He talks about Doug Collins. He's mad at Doug Collins because Doug Collins didn't start him all season, and he thought it was ridiculous that he didn't start. Doug comes up to him before a playoff game, says, Scottie, you're going in. Scottie's mad at Doug Collins because he didn't have enough time to mentally prepare to be able to start, because he wasn't ready to start because Doug told him last. It was like very clearly he didn't like Doug Collins. And what I love about old school sports is how they just kind of told it like it was, even to the media. You listen to John McClain talk, John McClain will always tell you it's not like it used to be. Now everybody's got to hide everything that they say all the time. When COVID shutdowns happened a year and a half ago, I remember watching an old Super Bowl, Madden and Summerall calling the Denver Broncos against Dan Reeves and the Atlanta Falcons. And Madden and Summerall were openly talking about the fact that Elway doesn't like Dan Reeves and Dan Reeves doesn't like Elway and Shanahan. And I thought, man, that's refreshing because nobody ever says that kind of stuff nowadays. So Mike Vrabel was asked a question by TD. I thought it was a very good question by Teron Davenport yesterday. And it was about Ryan Tannehill's stats. Now, this is one of the reasons why I do kind of like the coaches show, the coaches call-in show. Now they do like Twitter and stuff like that, and I think it's to filter the calls. But I kind of like the coaches call-in show because the fans can ask whatever they want. They can say whatever they want. That's their one opportunity to ask the coach something. I remember one time, and I love Mike Mularkey, and you all know that. But one time when Terry Robisky was offensive coordinator, somebody called into the coaches show and said to Mike Mularkey, I feel like I can make those play calls on my couch. And Mike Mularkey, you could tell he was like kind of pissed. He was like, I think that's kind of funny that you think that. And it's just, fans can say things that people in the media can't. So I thought there's a great way of TD asking Mike Vrabel about Ryan Tannehill's lack of statistiks. And kind of what's the deal with that? Here was the question and answer yesterday.
Todd Downing, he has said a couple weeks ago that the numbers don't necessarily define the season that Ryan Tannehill has had. So my question to you is, A, do you agree with that? And B, in what way can you define the season that he's had so far?
Well, I think that our focus is on the Dolphins. I love Ryan. I love who he is. I love his toughness. I think we can all look back to Thursday night and see that when there's a clean pocket, he made some really good throws. And, it starts there. It starts in protection. It starts in giving him a pocket to stand up, stand in and step up and deliver passes. I think that was evident. So it is a group effort. There's some things that Ryan has to improve on and that we're going to continue to coach him on. But his toughness is second to none. I know that being a professional quarterback it requires a level of toughness, and I'm not going to say that our guys aren't tough, but I know that Ryan has a very high ability to stand in there and not flinch, and when he takes off and runs, he helps us out.
Okay, did you notice the theme of the answer? Toughness. Ryan's tough. Boy, I appreciate Ryan's toughness, and you need toughness at that position. I almost thought it was a commercial for a truck. Like, are we talking about the Ford F-150, or are we talking about the starting quarterback? I don't know. But you heard Vrabel. Starts with protection. You saw what happened Thursday when he got a clean pocket. Hey, he stood in there, and he doesn't flinch. He's tough, but we got to get him a clean pocket. Now, there's some things he's got to do. But he's tough. Which is funny because when we talk about Tannehill on the show, the fans and their reaction when it comes to excusing Tannehill's mistakes this year has been to blame the wide receivers. It's been to blame the lack of depth at wide receiver, the lack of a tight end. Offensive lines mixed in there, but certainly not more than wide receivers. Now, when Joe Rexrode talks, Joe talks about offensive line. And I've told you where I sometimes feel like maybe Joe, well, I'll just leave it at that. So I do wonder, what do we think? What do we make of Vrabel's answer there? They first try to cut TD off at the start with, our focus is on the Dolphins. But then he went off into this harmonic soliloquy about Ryan Tannehill's toughness. Oh, Ryan's tough. He's so tough, I'll tell you. The thing I love about him is his toughness, and So what do we make of that? Because I've got my hypothesis. What's yours?
Well, my first biggest takeaway when I heard that was Mike Vrabel saying that part of Ryan Tannehill's, let's call it regression that we've seen so far this year, he's putting it on the offensive line. Because he said, did you see those throws on Thursday? That's what happens when Ryan has a clean pocket. It all comes down to protection. He reiterated that, as well as the toughness. He reiterated the importance of protection for Ryan Tannehill several times. And we've been trying to come up with what we think the root of the reason is, or a combination of the root of the reason why Tannehill doesn't look like his 2019 and 2020 self. And the offensive line is one of those reasons. And I kind of thought that was Mike Vrabel's way of saying, look, what Tannehill could have done, or look what Tannehill did on Thursday when he did have a clean pocket, when he did feel protected, when he did have time to step back and throw the ball. That was my first biggest initial takeaway, was Mike Vrabel was saying the offensive line needs to do their job so Ryan Tannehill can do his.
Ian, what did you think?
Just in general about Vrabel's take on Tannehill?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It sounded like a lot of coach speak. Didn't really say a whole lot. I don't know. He does,
You don't think he throws the offensive line under the bus like Caroline is suggesting?
Well, I think he was trying to make a point that it's more about just one player on the offense to him, I think he was trying to blame everybody for kind of the mistakes. The O-line, the wide receivers, Tannehill, the coaches, pretty much tries to blame everybody, so you can't try to pick the blame on one person. He's good at that.
So I would normally agree with you, but he didn't mention anything about catching the ball. He didn't mention anything about holding on to the ball. He didn't mention anything about getting open for the ball. He didn't, it would have been one thing, to Ian's point, it would have been one thing if he had been like, well, we got to start with protecting the pocket. Then we got to make sure that the receivers are running the right routes, that they're getting open, that when they're open, that they catch the ball, that we got to make sure we deliver the ball, and Ryan's doing a good job of that. And he didn't mention anything about delivering the ball. He didn't mention anything about Tannehill's lack of accuracy, as we have talked about on this show. He didn't mention anything about guys dropping the ball like Nick Westbrook-Akina did last week at Pittsburgh. He's not mentioning any of that. Here's my takeaway. I think what Vrabel told you at the very beginning of that answer is the most important part. We're on to the Dolphins. So we know the depth at wide receiver on this team is terrible. And we know that outside of A.J. Brown, the wide receivers and pass catchers on this team are terrible. The second best pass catcher behind A.J. Brown might be Jeremy McNichols. And if it's not Jeremy McNichols, it might be Jeff Swaim.
Nick Westbrook-Akina?
Westbrook-Akina is just a guy. He is just an average run-of-the-mill. Then again, so are these guys.
Yeah.
But he is just a guy. I mean, he can't even
Most
run
of
to the
these
sticks.
pass catchers are just guys.
He can't even run to the sticks in a big moment, and he can't catch the ball in another big moment. So, whatever. And if we want to argue about the importance of Westbrook-Akina and Swaim, I think we're
in a scary spot.
So, I think he's thinking about going forward. This answer is not for me. It's not for you. It's not for the fans. It's not for TV. This answer is for Tannehill. And I don't even think it's for the offensive line. I think he looks at it like this. Where can we improve? Because right now, I'm stuck with these wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. It'd be really nice to go out and make a trade for Zach Ertz. It'd be really nice to redo the Julio Jones trade, sign a veteran wide receiver, and then trade for Zach Ertz. But you can't do that now. The trade deadline's passed. There's nobody out there that's any good. You can't do any of that. So it does you no good to sit there and say, well, we got to catch the ball better. We got to run our routes better. That doesn't do you any good. What Vrabel did was he talked about Tannehill's toughness. The one thing that you can't quantify. There is no stat for Ryan Tannehill's toughness. I think Ryan Tannehill's tough, and I know the team thinks Ryan Tannehill's tough. I knew that this team believed in Ryan Tannehill when they played Jacksonville in 2019, and Tannehill ran through two guys into the end zone for a touchdown, jumping in the air and getting the you-know-what smoked out of him. And after the game was over, they asked Derrick Henry a question, and Derrick Henry just goes, yo, Ryan's balling. And at that point, I knew they believed in him. So there's nothing. Pro Football Focus can't grade Ryan Tannehill's toughness. So what's Vrabel do? He's pumping up Tannehill, saying, hey, he's tough. That is a badge of honor for Ryan Tannehill, that my coach just went off on how tough I am. It also makes me think there's a chance Tannehill's playing hurt. Almost an admission of, hey, I know you haven't had the season you like. We know why you haven't had the season you want. But, I'm hyping up how tough you are because I know. And know that I know and I've got your back. But I think Vrabel looks at the offensive line and the pass protection as a whole and thinks it can get better. They can do things to help shore that up. Because, again, Lewan, Saffold, Jones, Davis, these guys have all pass blocked before in their careers. They've never been great at it, but they've all done a decent enough job. They've had games and stretches where they've held the pocket pretty well. And so I think he's looking at it like, hey, let's talk about what's important going forward, and let's focus on that, and let's not get too worked up one way or another about anything else. And let me cite over and over again to elevate the confidence of my quarterback, who until a throw in the middle of the third quarter last week had zero confidence. Let me throw out something that is completely and totally unquantifiable: his toughness. Boy, I'll tell you, he's tough. He's tough. Is he accurate? Because I got stats that measure that. Is he efficient? Because I got stats that measure that. No. Let's talk about his toughness. I don't think this has anything to do with what the Titans have done this year. I don't think it has anything to do with what TD asked. Floyd used to always tell me in New England, they teach you, don't answer what they ask. Answer what you want to tell them. I think Vrabel is trying to pump up Tannehill's tires with the toughness, or he's signaling to us that Tannehill's playing hurt, which I wouldn't be surprised. And I think he looks at the pass protection as the one thing that can get better between now and Sunday against the Dolphins. The wide receivers can't get better between now and Sunday unless they pull one out of their rear end, unless they've been stashing Golden Tate on the practice squad as a secret weapon. So that's why I think Vrabel talked about Tannehill's toughness. And that's why I think he talked about pass protection, because I think he thinks it can get better. I don't think he thinks the wide receivers can get better. And I think he's trying to pump up his quarterback, who is lacking the confidence that we're used to seeing. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. What do you make of Vrabel pumping the tires on Tannehill's toughness? I mean, how many times did he say toughness in that?
Like 7.
We'll get your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. Plus, more Titans to the COVID list. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. We are delivered by TriStar Moving right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell everybody out there that ESPN The Game Nashville and Newton Motor Group have teamed up this holiday season with Souls for Souls to help children in Middle Tennessee with Souls for Music City. Souls for Souls works with our schools and community partners to deliver new shoes to kids who need them most. Newton Motor Group will be making a donation to Souls for Souls for every test drive at any of Newton Motor Group's 4 locations. Help us achieve our goal of getting shoes to 100 kids in Nashville experiencing homelessness. More information can be found at thegamenashville.com/shoes. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
The Titans put an exclamation point on a heck of a victory.
The Titans sit at 10-5 as the Dolphins head to town.
Into the end zone. Touchdown, Dolphins.
We have you covered on all the news.
Talking about a team that has gone to an AFC title game, won the AFC South last year. You're on the verge of winning the AFC South again.
As they look to wrap up the AFC South.
You'll win the 2 games. You're the 2 seed no matter what.
Keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Lowe's Store and Save events, start the year fresh with Project Source Clear Storage Totes starting at $2.38. Valid through 3/18. Selection varies by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
Did you not get everything on your Christmas list? Well, shop at Social Furniture for their half off after Christmas sale. Head down to Social Furniture on the west side today for half off on selective items. First come, first served on the best selection of furniture. Social Furniture has truckloads after truckloads of all your furniture needs. Their showroom is packed, wall to wall with great merchandise. If you're looking for that new living room set you didn't get, it's here. Thousands of combinations to choose from. A new dining room, a new bedroom. No matter what, you will find it here at Social Furniture. Come down to Social Furniture at 5412 Charlotte Avenue to see what you can save today. The best part is there's no waiting. Take home your new furniture today, or with Social Furniture's same-day delivery. They have 12 months same as cash. Hurry up and come down to Social Furniture today for their half-off after Christmas sale before it's gone. That's right, half-off select items. Visit Social Furniture on the west side at 5412 Charlotte Avenue or on the web at mysocialfurniture.com.
Are you suffering from chronic joint pain like Heather?
I have terrible arthritis and have had it for quite a while, and I've gone to all kinds of doctors trying to figure out what to do, and everybody just said surgery, and surgery was months of rehab, and I didn't want to do that.
But then Heather discovered QC Kinetics, local medical professionals who specialize in natural biologic treatments, non-invasive solutions designed to repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. And she absolutely loves the results.
I like to tell anybody who's suffering that there are options that are not steroids, that are not surgery. You owe it to yourself to find out about QC Kinetics and find out what they can do for you.
No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Discover QC Kinetics and learn more about natural biologic treatments with lasting results.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Save cash fast for the holidays with the Game Deal of the Week. Spread holiday cheer with Downtown Dollars this year. Redeemable at hundreds of downtown Nashville shops, restaurants, and more. Receive $50 free with your purchase of a $100 digital gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals.
This is Ice-T,
Stone Cold Steve Austin, and
Matty Ice.
This is a cold call.
I convinced NFL teams to turn to cold water washing with Tide.
The NFL, your uniforms get dirty.
Tide can handle it, even in cold. Plus, if fans join in, they can save up to $150 on their energy bill.
Looks like you just made the team, rookie.
Turn to cold with Tide.
And that's the bottom line.
It's got to be Tide. Energy savings based on average when switching from hot to cold and non-HE machines.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
How much, if you don't have that line together, Mike, on a Wednesday, does it set you back?
We'll just try to plan for the guys that we have, and then as guys continue to get added back into it, and we'll see where they fit. Our job is to have 8 guys ready for the game, just like we did last Thursday.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel talking about the offensive line. Hey, we got to protect Tannehill better because he's tough. He's tough. Tough, says Vrabel multiple times in reference to Tannehill. By the way, the Titans have made some additions to the COVID list. Jayon Brown has been placed on reserve/COVID-19. Cody Hollister has been placed on practice squad reserve/COVID-19. So I got to tell you something that we'll get into. Julio Jones, Bud Dupree, those are some big names that are on there. Westbrook-Akina's on there. Cody Hollister's on there now. Like, anybody else scared to death that A.J. Brown's name's going to pop up there? Because A.J. plays wide receiver too. So I would be keeping an eye on that. If you're telling me that it's going to be all the Jayon Browns and the Cody Hollisters, I can live with that. That I can be totally fine with missing those guys. Now, I got to believe that means Golden Tate is going to play on Sunday against the Dolphins. Because if you're down Jones, Westbrook-Akina, and Hollister, Des Fitzpatrick has to play, and Golden Tate has to play. But Golden has to play. Fitzpatrick just has to be active. You can get by with Rodgers and A.J. Brown, and I'm trying to think, who else is a wide receiver on this team?
Cam Batson?
No, he's hurt.
I don't know.
Golden Tate.
Golden,
get out there. And then maybe Des Fitzpatrick has to play too. Oh, Racey McMath. So you've got that. And that's what you're looking at on Sunday. They'll probably add somebody to the practice squad, COVIDelevation.com, you know what, name it, whatever. But again, was Mike Vrabel trying to elevate Ryan Tannehill's confidence by talking about his toughness over and over and over again? Do you buy that?
I think so, because it's the same kind of thing of whenever Dylan Radins got out there, we thought that Vrabel was really going to kind of hype him up a little bit because that's what he needed. Maybe that was what he was missing in training camp. Maybe training camp really did kind of damage his confidence. We thought that Vrabel was going to go out there and ultimately pump Dylan Radins' confidence. No, he didn't, but...
Oh, I thought he did. By when Paul Kaharski asked that question Friday about, don't you think it's a little too much for a second-round pick to go out there? And he was like, no, Paul, you don't see what I see every day. You don't see the hard work that he puts in, and you don't see the – I thought that was about pumping. In fact, Radins, when he wasn't playing, was asked about, is he making any progress? And this was like September. And Vrabel's like, yeah, he's making progress. He works hard every day, and we want him to be versatile. And I thought, Vrabel never likes talking about individuals. But he will talk about the lowest guy on the roster. And sometimes I think that's to pump his confidence up. I think Vrabel does go to that podium and try to show certain players, hey, I believe in you. You see, I'm telling them how much I believe in you.
But did he do that after the 49ers game? Did he really kind of stroke Dylan Radins' ego?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
But he doesn't need Dylan Radins' confidence anymore. He needed him for one game. He needs Dylan to think that, hey, you're on the right path, you're doing a good job. Dylan didn't give up a sack or whatever it was. I think I saw somebody, and I'm not sure how much I care what Pro Football Focus says, but I think I saw somebody from Pro Football Focus that said, Radins gave up, a sack and, 5 pressures, and basically that Radins was horrible, which confirms kind of what I thought and what my dad thought, my noted offensive line expert, Barry Stillman, of what he noticed with Radins. We're sitting there talking Sunday. He's like, he's terrible.
But I've also heard so many people saying, look how good he was. Nick Bosa had to go to the other side.
But that's because you read the overly apologetic text line.
That is true.
Speaking of the text line, 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have on Vrabel's Tannehill love?
Well, one texter texts in and asks if Kinsey might play. Mason Kinsey.
I guess.
At this point, I'm playing wide receiver for the Titans.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? Go back to last night's game, Monday Night Football game.
Mm-hmm.
One guy on the Dolphins' offense matters. One guy. That's it. Think about that. In the NFL, there's a handful of players who matter in every game. We love to get excited about Nick Westbrook-Akina, and we love to get excited about dudes that don't matter. Anthony Ferkser has been a long-time fan, talk about favorite, whatever. The game was won by A.J. Brown. Now, Swaim had some catches, and Ferkser had a catch in the last drive, and the game was won by A.J. Brown. If the 49ers had gotten back in and had won the game, so say the Titans didn't have that 2-minute drive, didn't kick the field goal, and the 49ers ended up winning, they would have won because of one guy making one big play, Deebo Samuel. In the NFL, like all these other guys, the Mason Kinseys, they don't matter. They never matter. And so what you've got to have is you've got to have the guy that matters the most. And when you went in the playoffs 2 years ago, you played Tom Brady and the Patriots, and Derrick Henry mattered more than Tom Brady in that game. Brady's team was so bad at that point that he tried. Edelman dropped a pass. They got stuffed at the goal line. But Brady was the guy who mattered, and Henry was the guy who mattered, and Henry played better. Then you played Lamar Jackson. And Henry mattered more than Lamar Jackson. Yeah, Tannehill had some big throws in that game, but Henry mattered more. And then this season, you have no tackle, you have no tight end, your wide receivers are in and out of the lineup, and yet you're winning all these games because Derrick Henry matters. It's like I was talking about Scottie Pippen's book. I've learned more about Craig Hodges and John Paxson and Dave Corzine and Bill Cartwright and all these other guys that were on the Chicago Bulls than I ever noticed in The Last Dance. But it doesn't matter because the guy who mattered there wore number 23. And it hurt Scotty's heart that everybody made it about him, but that's why it's about him. So we can talk about these Mason Kinseys and whatever. Just tell me AJ's going to play. Tell me Tannehill's going to play. And I'll go from there. That's why I get so worked up about Bud Dupree. Because I think Bud Dupree matters. There's only a handful of dudes that matter. Jayon Brown goes to the COVID list. Okay. They'll be fine without Jayon Brown. They were fine when Jayon Brown got hurt in the 2019 playoffs. They were fine when Jayon Brown got hurt last year. They were fine when Jayon Brown got hurt this year. Whatever. Think about the people who matter. That's what matters. Mason Kinsey, even if he plays, doesn't matter. What's next?
Another texter texts in and asks if Tannehill is hurt, why did the Titans not want to make a play for another quarterback?
How are they going to do that? Who are they going to go get? They're going to go get Dan Marino out of retirement? I mean, the idea of what do you want them to do? Now, the Panthers released Matt Barkley today. I would use a roster spot on Matt Barkley. And I would tell Matt Barkley, here is a key to the Omni Hotel. Whatever hotel you want to pick, Omni, JW Marriott, the Westin I hear is very nice. Virgin has that new hotel downtown. Here you go, Matt Barkley. Here's a computer and a key to the hotel. Knock yourself out, and if we need you, we'll call you. But I'm on the active roster. I need to be here, and I need to... Nope. No practice for you, Matt. You stay as far away from the other two quarterbacks as possible. Because if something happens to them, you're in. So that is a quarterback they could go get. The idea of if Tannehill got hurt, and let's say the Colts game. Remember, when they played Indianapolis, the way it's weird how it is this year. Normally what happens in the NFL is 2 or 3 players go to the podium and the coach, and then the locker room opens up and everybody just goes in the locker room and talks to whomever. This year is different because of COVID. So they bring out players. So last year, the local media talked to Vrabel, or against the Colts game this year at Indianapolis, they talked to Vrabel, and they talked to whatever players were brought out. And then they waited. And then they waited. And then they waited. Because they wanted to talk to Henry and Tannehill. But Henry and Tannehill were in the locker room getting treatment with the trainers. And Tannehill came back out. And if you remember, Tannehill was standing there at the podium and kind of moving his neck around. And he was like, and they're like, you okay? Yeah, just a little tight, whatever. And then Henry didn't meet with the media. And that should have been the first warning sign that something was really wrong with Derrick Henry. Because the next day it came out that he had the Jones fracture. But if Tannehill got hurt in that Colts game, but it was the kind of hurt that, hey, you're going to have to come in at 6 a.m. every day for treatment, and you're going to have to play through this year, and you're going to have to deal with it, you're not going to tell anybody. You're not going to let anybody know about it. You're just going to go on about your business, just like Tom Brady's knee injury last year that nobody knew. He wasn't on the injury report. He had a torn MCL. How did that happen? Because nobody wanted you to know. And I have brought this up several times in discussing Tannehill about whether or not Tannehill is playing hurt. Because some of these throws are so bad for him that you look at it and you're like, now, how did the guy who zipped the ball like a BB with decisiveness make that bad decision, that bad throw? How? And I have wondered if he's hurt. And I don't know if he's hurt or not. But I have thrown that out there as a possibility. He'll never tell you if he is. But I have thought about that as a possibility. The thing about injuries is people will generally tell you what they want you to know. So when Adam Schefter came out and said Derrick Henry was out for the year, that got shot down pretty quickly. Even though the Titans didn't put it on record and they didn't say anything like, no, Derrick will definitely come back this year. The idea of Adam Schefter's 2-week-long, Derrick's out for the year no matter what, that got shot down pretty quickly. People will tell you what they want you to know. And so I kind of feel like they don't want you to know about this Tannehill injury. Did you notice that Jimmy Garoppolo has apparently this brand new injury all of a sudden?
Sprained something in his thumb.
Fracture, torn ligament, all kinds of crap. You notice this? So it happened when apparently Danico Autry sacked Jimmy Garoppolo in the second quarter, and Jimmy Garoppolo was no good for the rest of the game, and it was because of that thumb injury, and that's why he had the bad throw to Amani Hooker. Now, they didn't take him out after that throw and say, wow, you really can't throw the ball. Trey, get in there. No, they let him play the rest of the game. Shocking. Was the thumb not a problem on the throw to Deebo Samuel that set up the tying touchdown? I guess it wasn't. Jimmy even played the last play of the game, the lateral back and forth. And this goes back to people wanting you to know. Why would it be advantageous for the 49ers to have an injury to Jimmy Garoppolo this week?
I don't know.
How are you going to put Trey Lance in the game and then take him out if he's not any good? You have an injury. Trey Lance will start this week, I would assume, for the 49ers, and they'll let him play. And if Trey plays well, Trey stays. And if Trey doesn't play well, if they think Trey needs more seasoning, again, the 49ers are still very much in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So if Trey needs more seasoning, then Trey goes back to the bench, Jimmy goes back in. Jimmy already knows the 49ers don't believe in him. He knew that the second they drafted Trey Lance. So he knows, there's nothing to lose with Jimmy. But the second you officially make the change and you go to the young guy, you can't take the young guy out. Matt Nagy wants to play Andy Dalton. He can't. Because once he puts Fields in there, it's Fields' job, and he can't take him out. So Shanahan wants to try Trey Lance. But they've still got the playoffs, and they've still got 2 games left. But I want to try Trey Lance. But you can't just try your future franchise quarterback. And when you trade 3 picks for somebody, they're your future franchise quarterback. So what do? You make up an injury. And then you go out there with all seriousness and you blame the bad performance that everybody saw on national TV on the injury. Because you're trying to tell Jimmy, we're going to come up with this injury. We're going to talk about this. Jimmy's thumb was probably bothering him before the game. We're going to tell people about this thumb injury. And then that way, when people call us about you next year, we'll say, hey, he was hurt. He got hurt in the Titans game, and that's why he stunk it up so bad, and that's why But really, they just want to play Trey Lance. But this is the only way. It's like going to Baskin Robin and asking for like the little sample scoop.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with a franchise quarterback. You can't do that with a young guy. You put the young guy in, he's in. That's why a lot of teams, the fans have a lot of pressure, and it's like, play the young guy, play the young guy, play the young guy. And the coach doesn't want to. Because if you play the young guy, you can't take him out. Think about how much we bitched about John Hines taking Ellie Tolvin and Dante Fabro out of the playoff lineup. And those guys, we don't even know if they're core foundational pieces. You trade 3 first-rounders and draft a guy, that is a core foundational piece. You've already told everybody. You're banking your entire franchise on this guy. So what you can't do is you can't put him out there and then yank him back. Then he starts to resent the coaches and thinks they don't believe in him. But if he's only in there because he's in relief for Jimmy, and then Jimmy's healthy to play, yeah, had a bad game, but it's okay. Jordan Love doesn't think the Packer coaches don't believe in him anymore because he doesn't start. He knew that he started because Aaron was out, and then Aaron came back. That's what this is. So people will tell you what they want you to know. And I wonder if Tannehill's playing hurt, and that's what all this is about with Vrabel. Toughness is, hey, I know you stunk it up this year, but you've really stunk it up because you're playing through that neck injury, Ryan, and I know it. And they don't know it, but just know that I know. I believe in you because I know. That's kind of what I think may be going on here. We're back to your phones next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. Boy, I thought that was a lot of just rambling on, but who knows? Here on Stillman and Company. Hey, join us tomorrow and Thursday for the Bud Light Preds Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade Drink Specials, and enter to win Preds tickets and watch Predators take on the Washington Capitals on Wednesday and the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday. The Preds Bud Light Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade located at 114 2nd Avenue South downtown. Puck drop, 6 o'clock both nights. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Wednesday.
Sliding across to make the save is Zeros. Who answers the rebound, he scores!
Finally, the Predators return to action on the road in Washington to take on former coach Peter Laviolette and the Capitals. Pre-game at 5, face-off at 6 on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, your home for all the broadcasts with football and men's basketball games is 93.3 Classic Hits. Tune in each week as Andrew Allegretta and Kevin Ingram brings the fans the exciting SEC action on 93.3 Classic Hits.
Victory Award-winning New Amsterdam Vodka knows all about it, but in life, it's not always so clear. So New Amsterdam Vodka believes that in life, you've got to find your own wins. You've got to overcome your fears, go all in, even when you've got nothing at all. Find your wins. And when you do, raise that glass of New Amsterdam Vodka in victory. You've earned it. New Amsterdam Spirits Company, Modesto, California.
Do great prices and selection on trucks and SUVs still exist? They do in Truckville. Sarah Chevrolet Buick GMC of Nashville has the largest selection in Tennessee. And we keep getting fresh stock on our lots every day. We're committed to offering you our best price and a 5-star experience, which is why we're still known as the destination for trucks and SUVs. Come visit Truckville, Tennessee today in person or online at sarahnashville.com.
It's the half-off after Christmas sale at Social Furniture. Head down to Social Furniture today to receive half off on select items. That's right, half off on select items. They have truckloads of the best selection of furniture and have all your furniture needs. Hurry up and come down to Social Furniture today for the best selection of furniture before it's gone. Visit Social Furniture on the west side at 5412 Charlotte Avenue. On the web at mysocialfurniture.com. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
When Nashville is in need for tire sales or service for their business, the Tire Man has been there for over 20 years to help. The Tire Man repairs new and used tires for construction equipment, dump trucks, 18-wheelers, box trucks, fleets, plus they sell new tires for vehicles of all sizes. When your company needs tires, call the Tire Man, 615-663-6040, where they come to you, fully licensed and insured, and they can't wait to work with you. That's the Tire Man at 615-663-6040.
Hi, guys. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills?
Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The WAVE technology at Hillside Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction today and get your love life back just in time for the holidays. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Hey, it's Caroline Fenton, and you already know how pumped I am for bowl season, and you also know that 312 Pizza Company is my favorite place in town. Whether it's grabbing a drink, enjoying a slice of pizza, catching a game or two, or recording Southeastern Carolines, 312 Pizza Company in Germantown is my go-to spot. You can catch every down of bowl season at 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. From the Bahamas Bowl to the National Championship, 312 Pizza Company is your home for the college football bowl season.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Alabama versus Cincinnati.
Leonard Taylor, touchdown Cincinnati.
Michigan versus Georgia.
To the end zone, Kearis Jackson has got it.
Your exclusive home for the college football playoff semifinals on New Year's Eve is ESPN 102.5 The Game, 94.9, and the Game Nashville app. Brought to you locally by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Todd Downing, he has said a couple weeks ago that the numbers don't necessarily define the season that Ryan Tannehill has had. So my question to you is, A, do you agree with that? And B, in what way can you define the season that he's had so far?
Well, I think that our focus is on the Dolphins. I love Ryan. I love who he is. I love his toughness. I think we can all look back to Thursday night and see that when there's a clean pocket, he made some really good throws. And, it starts there. It starts in protection. It starts in giving him a pocket to stand in and step up and deliver passes. I think that was evident. So it is a group effort. There's some things that Ryan has to improve on and that we're going to continue to coach him on. But his toughness is second to none. I know that being a professional quarterback it requires a level of toughness, and I'm not going to say that our guys aren't tough, but I know that Ryan has a very high ability to stand in there and not flinch, and when he takes off and runs, he helps us out.
I mean, I see there's some truck company that is like the official truck of Vanderbilt. Anchor down. Have you seen those truck commercials?
I don't think I have.
Ian, have you seen them?
I don't think so.
You guys must not be watching football, because when I watch like college football or college sports, there's some, I think it might be Ford, I don't know, but they're like the official truck of Vanderbilt, anchor down. And I'm like, really? Like that's, like we talked yesterday about whether or not Tennessee can move the needle, but like, really? But when I listen to Vrabel talk about Tannehill's toughness, I do feel like those old Chevy commercials, the Like a Rock, I felt like that's what I was listening to, just this chorus of no truck is tougher to get you through the tough terrain than the Ryan Tannehill 2021-17 Elite model. It's got all heavy duty, and it's got that great, like, toughness, tough. You think anybody will ask Vrabel, hey, you talked about Tannehill and all his toughness. Is he tougher than Tom Brady?
I don't think anyone's going to ask him that question. But I feel like if anyone were to ask that question, it would 110,000% be you.
Well, you can't say, hey, I've never played quarterback in this league, but I've been around it enough, and I know you got to be tough. Vrabel's played with Cordell Stewart. Vrabel's played with Cordell Stewart and Matt Castle. in his NFL career.
Okay.
Outside of Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe. So where does Tannehill rank on that group? He wouldn't answer it. He would not answer that question. But I do wonder if we're going to talk about toughness.
He would say, Jared, he's our guy. Ryan's our guy. And not even answer the question in the slightest and be so incredibly offended that you would even consider asking him that question.
I'm just saying.
We're focused on the Dolphins.
I'm just saying. Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Dolphins and focusing on the Dolphins, I do have a Dolphins thought I will get to here in a little bit. But let's go back to your phones as promised here on Stillman and Company.
One texter checks in and says, well, Ryan hasn't been the same all year. Even in training camp, he didn't play well. I don't think he is hurt.
So I keep thinking back to training camp, and I do feel like they turned the ball over a lot in training camp. And I think I did ask about them throwing a lot of interceptions in training camp. I mean, training camp was so jumbled up to me that, it feels like it was so long ago. It feels like it was like a year and a half ago. And so I'm trying to think. I think they turned the ball over a lot. And Vrabel was talking about, well, sometimes you're aggressive, but sometimes we do things you just can't do. And because in training camp, the question is like, so is it the defense that's good, or is it the offense that's bad, or what have you? Maybe Tannehill's not hurt. Maybe I'm just making this up out of my rear end and then just firing one off and saying like, okay, trying to come up with reasons with why a guy that played so well last year has not played well at all this year, including when Derrick Henry was in there. And maybe injury is part of it. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with Tannehill. And I'll say this, if the season doesn't get better, so if the Titans win one of these next two games and are the number 2 seed and they get beat at home in the first round by the Chargers, which I think is a legitimate possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not saying I would predict it. But I'm just telling you all that looking at a 7-2 matchup against the Chargers, I could see the Chargers coming to Nissan Stadium and winning. And if you can't see the Chargers coming to Nissan Stadium and winning, you're just a homer. Like, they definitely can beat the Titans. Now, again, I think the Titans can beat them, but that's why we play the game. But thinking about if they lose a 7-2 matchup, and let's say they lose a 7-2 matchup a la how they lost last year. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry comes back, but he's not the same Derrick. He rushes for 60 yards. AJ plays well. Titans defense keeps it close. Tannehill loses the game. He throws for 160 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. So the same way they lost last year. I think Todd Downing probably gets fired, unless Vrabel just stands on the table and says no. But I think Downing gets fired because they're going to try to think that, okay, Arthur was this good with Ryan. Todd obviously wasn't. Let's go get somebody else to come in here and work with Ryan that can be better. And then you have to look at all these Shanahan offensive teams, whether it's San Francisco, the Rams, the Packers. The Jets are now trying to be this way. The Bengals, one of these teams that runs your system, Atlanta, and saying, okay, let's go get that quarterback coach to come in here and see if he can be the guy who can be offensive coordinator. I don't think that's something that Vrabel wants to do. But I'm just saying that if things don't get better, I do think that they'll probably be forced into that change unless they've already made the decision in their head that Downing isn't good. Like, unless they've already decided, no, Todd is the problem, we're going to fire him at the end of the year no matter what. But I think Downing would be the first one to be held liable for Tannehill's struggles this year.
And I think that I would agree with you, but there's one caveat to that concerns me. Can you have 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years? I mean, you can. I know that you can. I know teams have done it in the past. But is that going to be the most advantageous thing for your football team?
No, but if you're a good team, with a defensive coach, you're going to have a lot of offensive coordinators. Like, this is not going to be just a 1 year move to the next. This is when you're good on offense, you will constantly have new offensive coaches because everybody will try to hire your coach away. And if you go out and get a good coordinator, Byron Leftwich is going to interview for the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching job. Byron Leftwich was the quarterback coach under Bruce Arians in Arizona. He goes with Bruce Arians. I believe Arians fired his offensive coordinator. I can't remember what happened at the end of the Arizona run. Arians gets the Tampa Bay job. Leftwich goes with him from being quarterback coach to being offensive coordinator. I want to say they fired the offensive coordinator in Arizona and Leftwich got elevated into the job Arians last year, but I can't remember exactly the specifics of it. So Arians gets hired offensive coach to fix Jameis Winston. Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator, but Byron's not supposed to be the guy to fix Jameis. It's Bruce Arians' job to fix Jameis. Jameis doesn't get fixed. They go out and they get Tom Brady. So between Arians, an offensive coach that's called plays in the NFL for the last 25 years, and Tom Brady, how much of a say do you think Byron Leftwich really has in the offense at Tampa Bay? And not only that, like Brady was in the league and had already won one Super Bowl by the time Byron Leftwich was drafted. Whoa. Brady won the Super Bowl Byron Leftwich's rookie year and his second year in the NFL. Like, that's how much more experience Brady has than Byron Leftwich. So
that is crazy.
I understand the idea of going and interviewing the best coordinator on the best team that just won the Super Bowl, and Leftwich is going to get a head coaching job because this is what happens in the NFL. If you're an offensive coach and you're on a good team, you're getting hired. Doesn't matter if you're any good at all, you're getting hired. And I'm not knocking Leftwich. I have no idea. I've never met the guy. But this is my point, that if the Titans' offense is going to be good, the offensive coordinator is going to keep getting hired. Until you eventually decide you don't want to do that, then you have to hire the offensive coordinator and fire Vrabel. But that's a situation you run yourself into. That's why a lot of teams with great quarterbacks like to either hire an old pop-pop like Tom Moore in Indianapolis, where Tony Dungy, defensive coach, or they like to have an offensive coach, an offensive head coach, and it's like, look, we can lose all these other guys, and it's okay because this is our guy that really works with the quarterback. And so the only one that wasn't like that was New England, where they had where they had Charlie Weiss, then they had McDaniels, then they had O'Brien. Then by the time O'Brien was ready to go on to college, McDaniels had already been fired and came back. And then they paid a boatload of money and made a bunch of promises to keep McDaniels so that they weren't running Brady through a new coordinator towards the end of his run there. So to answer your question, no, it's not good, but if Downing's the problem, you have to get rid of the problem. And then you got to figure it out on the fly. If you go out and hire another great offensive coordinator, now you have to go constantly do that every year. It's not fun. But that's why a lot of teams like having offensive coaches. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says the first 2 years Ryan Tannehill was playing for his job. Now we got the big contract that just got restructured to secure him in longer. Now he's comfortable because he thinks his job is secure.
So I just don't believe that.
I have a really tough time thinking that a professional NFL quarterback is okay with that.
Oh, no. You and Joe Rexrode. No, sir. Now, I'm going to tell you. You don't think these guys look at the dollar signs and say, oh, my God, if I just get that one contract, if I can just get paid this year, if I can just get it this year. You don't believe in guys having contract years for the money.
I'm not saying I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in guys that kick their feet up after they sign for $1 bajillion.
I think that there are people out there that do that, yes. I don't think that Ryan Tannehill is the type of player that would do that.
I agree with that. But this idea, like Joe today, Robbie, somebody asked into the text line. I mean, you talk about crazy. I literally had to text Joe and be like, Joe, what are you talking about? Robbie was talking about the idea of, like, is there a revenge factor for Tannehill this week playing the Dolphins? And Joe was like, in just like sanctimonious Joe Rexrode, how dare nose in the air of like, I highly doubt an NFL quarterback is going to work harder because there's revenge on the line. And I'm like, have you never been more motivated to do something than you were to do something else? Like the idea that Tannehill prepares at a certain level every week. You know, that Tannehill prepares this much every week no matter what, and this is exactly what he does. Every single one of us at some point in our life was in school. And when you're in school, there are certain tests that you study for more and certain tests that you don't study for. And generally speaking, your overall amount of studying is usually the same, but it's not the same for every midterm and every final and every test and every pop quiz. It's just not the same. And that's every walk of life. I got to be honest with you. There are some days on this radio show, not to knock any of them, but there's some days in July where I know that the listenership is not going to be the same as the day before the AFC Championship game. I know that. Now, I try my hardest every day, but it's not the same. And so this idea of like the motivating factors, I always think it's a possibility. Now, to your point, I don't think Ryan Tannehill got paid in Miami, and then Ryan Tannehill got paid here. Ryan Tannehill's made $200 million in the NFL. I don't think he's worried about his next meal. I don't think that he looks at it like, wow, if we throw a bunch of interceptions, we're not going to be able to buy that new Porsche, because he can buy whatever he wants. But I do think that we should just never pretend like certain guys aren't more motivated than other guys. Like, I think there's something. Tom Brady said in the Man in the Arena, the ESPN show, Tom Brady said that had they won the perfect season in 2007, had they been 19-0 and did that, he doesn't think he'd still be playing football right now. Because he doesn't think that he'd have the drive to be doing what he's doing. And so to sit there and act like that's not the case for everybody, I think is irrational. Now, to the point I texted Joe, I'm like, Joe, if you think that pro athletes have just a baseline of motivation and that they will always work at that baseline no matter what, you have not been covering the Predators for the last 5 years. Because it was fully motivated every night, try to get home ice, win the President's Trophy, to, well, we'll turn it on in the playoffs, to, well, whatever. Coach gets fired, nothing changes, losing the bubble. Hey, we're going to trade you guys. Okay, now we're playing hard again. Okay, now we're winning games. This is pro sports. This is all avenues of life. It's the same.
And I heard Joe talking about that today and saying that Ryan Tannehill has a little bit more motivation for this game doesn't mean that he prepares not at all for any of these other games, or he's not motivated at all for any other games that he plays. But if you ask Ryan Tannehill that question, he is going to say, we do, every game's the same. It's the next man up. I got to do what I got to do. He's not going to tell you.
Everything in your job, you would never walk to your boss and say, you know what, I'm more motivated to do this big client report than I was motivated to do the last one.
But
there's
got to be some sort of involuntary motivation that you get from somebody
in every job. Now, do I think Tannehill got his contract and is getting fat and happy like I thought about the Predators players a couple years ago? No, I do not. And that's just based off of what I know with Tannehill. 615-737-1025. I'll get back to your calls. But who watched that terrible Monday night game last night? I got some thoughts on the Dolphins. We'll get to that coming up here on Stillman and Company. Invigorate Health. That's right. Who's looking to lose weight? Christmas is over, which means the holiday parties and the cookies and the candies, that's all gone away. But that gut's still there. If you're trying to lose weight, semaglutide is here to help. What is semaglutide? It has been approved by the FDA. It is a weight loss drug. Now, it's been approved by the FDA for weight loss, but it's been around for forever for diabetic patients. They carry it exclusively at Invigorate Health. 2 area locations for Invigorate Health. They're online at invigoratehealthtn.com. I talked to my primary care doctor before endorsing this product for you all because I wanted to make sure it was safe, and she said it is a great drug. That's right. My cousins are pharmacists. They say it's a great drug. Semaglutide, it is going to revolutionize weight loss if you are somebody that's really struggled with it. And I'm somebody who for years has struggled. At times I've been great about it. At times I've been bad about it, putting the pounds on, losing them. You know it. Semaglutide is here to help people like you. It's easy for your friends that can just say, oh, yep, nope, just not eating this much this month. Not easy for you. That's where semaglutide comes to help. So if you want your life back, Men's Health Magazine in November says that it's a breakthrough that helps people gain more years of healthy life. InvigorateHealthTN.com, 2 area locations, Mount Juliet and Franklin, 615-288-4777. That's InvigorateHealthTN.com.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Showers and a couple rumbles of thunder possible as we get through the overnight, with temperatures dropping to the low 60s, low 70s Wednesday. A chance of strong to severe storms, mainly 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening. I'm Fox 17 Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
At Lowe's Store and Save events, start the year fresh with Project Source Clear Storage Totes starting at $2.38. Valid through 3/18. Selection varies by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Turn every Tuesday into payday with TNT Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexford here to let you know FanDuel is giving all customers $10 back every Tuesday. All you have to do, bet a $10 or more same-game parlay on any NBA on TNT game. Combine the money line, the point spread, player props, and more all into one wager. If you got a Golden State game and they're on there, I would go over on Draymond Green rebounds, go over on Steph Curry threes, and I'd go with the Warriors on the money line. When you do these parlays, of course, perfect way to turn a small bet into a big-time score. And win or lose, you're guaranteed to get $10 added to your account. One of many reasons FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It's easy, it's safe, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. So get $10 back every Tuesday, win or lose, TNT Tuesdays. And if you're new, sign up with promo code Joe102, get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code Joe102 exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is now withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Do you really want to go through another year with that awful joint pain? Well, don't do it. Resolve right now to get yourself moving again for 2022. Willie Donick here. It's time to call the folks at QC Kinetics. Non-surgical regenerative treatments for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgery, no pain meds, no steroids, and no downtime. This is really exciting stuff. Regenerative, restorative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics. Patients rave about it for hip pain relief, knee pain relief, shoulder and back pain relief. Don't let them give you the steroids. Don't let them tell you your surgery is the only option. Get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics and do it now. And imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
It's time to save cash fast with the Game Deal of the Week. Eat, drink, and be merry with Downtown Dollars. This digital gift card is redeemable at hundreds of your favorite spots downtown. Right now at thegamenashville.com/deals. Get $50 free with your purchase of a $100 digital gift card while supplies last. With Downtown Dollars, you've got more to spend at an old favorite or discover one of the many new destinations in downtown's growing neighborhoods.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman. On Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst, scheduled to join us in 25 minutes or so. By the way, my team currently down 28-14 in the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. Louisville trailing the Air Force Academy.
Let's go First Responders.
Hey.
Woo!
I love the First Responders.
Appreciate them for everything they do.
By the way, I keep getting confused with all these bowls. I call them the Fox News Bowls because I feel like they're the ones that, like, on Fox News, you know, like they would take their hats off to be like, you know.
Like, what did Mizzou play in? Like the
Armed Forces Bowl.
Armed Forces Bowl.
So I get the Armed Forces Bowl.
First Responders.
The Military Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell is the difference between the Armed Forces Bowl and the Military Bowl?
Well, they're two different things.
No, they're not. Aren't they the same thing?
Two different bowls.
Aren't they the same thing?
Wouldn't the Armed Forces, like, isn't that an overarching category of military?
Then what's the military?
Then that's just a different. The military, they're not armed. Maybe that's it.
Ian, is there any difference between armed forces and military?
They sound pretty close to the same to me, but I'm not a military expert.
Yeah, I'm not the right person to ask.
So anywho, I get all these bowl games confused. Like like, I know that the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl is different than the Armed Forces and the First Responders Bowl. But every time I kept hearing about the military bowl, I was like, I think we're in that bowl. Or no, the Armed Forces Bowl, I was like, I think we're in that. No, we're in the First Responders.
First Responders Bowl, yes.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, anywho, Trevor
But
will
thank
join
you
us.
to our armed forces and our military.
And First Responders.
And First Responders.
And we got Trevor Maddich coming up later this hour. Music City Bowl will be on there, and then College Football Playoff. Who watched that game last night? We talked about the Dolphins and whatever, and like we both picked the Dolphins, and we figured 3 points was incredibly generous.
Mm-hmm.
And we were both right because the Dolphins were going to blow out the Saints pretty much no matter what happened. But I watched the Dolphins, and I was pretty skeptical of their 6-game winning streak coming in. You know, there was a lot of Jets and Giants and Panthers and Falcons and one game against the Ravens on a Thursday night, and even the Ravens kind of look phony right now anyways. There weren't really any impressive wins in their 6-game winning streak, and I hadn't watched them at all. Like, I am not somebody who's going to pretend that I am Mr. Football and just sit by the TV and watch all these games every second of the day, including the games that I don't have access to. A lot of people love to do that. They love to scout a box score or watch a highlight on ESPN and then pretend to people like you that they actually watched the game, and I'm not like that. So I haven't really watched the Dolphins. So I watched last night. Take the Saints out of this. Take Ian Book. Take the horrificness of the Saints. Take that out of this. I was so unimpressed by the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle, bad boy.
Bad boy.
The rest of that team, meh.
Also, best TD celebration in the NFL.
Okay. But Tua? Guys, Tua kind of stinks. And I know, like, people at halftime were like, what do you mean he's got 3 incompletions, Jared? I mean, come on. I think Tua kind of stinks. Like, he looks so unsure with the ball in the pocket, and he looks like that little frame every time he gets hit. I'm like, and I still think he plays a little gun shy after that injury that he had at Alabama. I'm not ready to give up on Tua if I'm the Dolphins. I mean, you tanked an entire season to get this guy. You got him. You drafted him over Justin Herbert, so his injury history and his slight frame and all of that didn't bother you then. But remember how I told you last hour the idea of taking Trey Lance out if Jimmy Garoppolo is not hurt is a bad idea? That the 49ers can't say, well, we want to play Trey this week, and I don't even know who they're playing. I think they play somebody terrible. But they can't say, hey, we want to play Trey this week. Let's let him get out there and see what he's got. Because if you do that, now you're stuck with playing Trey Lance for forever. The Dolphins ran into this last year. They were doing okay with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. They just said, nope, Tua's in. Tua, you go. And then they took Tua out. And ever since they've done that, I think it has to linger in Tua's mind that these guys aren't really all that committed to me. All offseason, Tua had to deal with the fact that at the end of last year, Brian Flores, his coach, kept taking him out of games. I thought it was crazy Brian Flores did that. Tua's their starting quarterback this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick's gone. Jacoby Brissett, who stinks, is the backup. And so now it's Tua's gig. But remember all the Deshaun Watson rumors? It wasn't just this offseason that there were all these Deshaun Watson rumors. It was in the season. Carolina really wants Deshaun, but he won't go there. The Dolphins owner has agreed to make a Deshaun Watson trade if Deshaun agrees to settle with all those women. But Deshaun will not settle with all those women because Deshaun doesn't want to admit guilt. Then the Dolphins don't acquire Deshaun Watson. We still like Tua. Do you? I watched last night. Tua's got comfort throwing the ball to one guy. It's Jalen Waddle. Why does Tua have comfort throwing the ball to that one guy?
He's been throwing to him for a very long time.
Because back when people liked Tua, he threw to Jalen Waddle. Nobody in Miami likes Tua. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious. He's playing with no confidence out there. I watched Tua, and I'm not saying this because they're Hawaiian, but I see like the end of Marcus, where like you know he can make plays, but deep down in your heart, you know he's not going to. So I know the Dolphins killed New Orleans last night, but I watched that game, and I'm like, there's no excuse for that team to come in here on Sunday and win because they ain't very good. I guess maybe COVID would be an excuse. Now, the Dolphins have got COVID problems of their own. But maybe if the Titans get popped on COVID, like maybe that would then be part of the reason why you could say it would be okay or whatever have you. I don't know. But I'm just telling you guys right now, I look at what we're seeing as far as all this is concerned. I mean, guys, Tua looked awful last night. Now, the Saints have a good defense. Even with their COVID problems, the Saints have a good defense. But I'm not scared of the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are what they are, which is where Cleveland is right now, which is where the Ravens with all their injuries are right now, which is where the Chargers, who either look like the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, like the Dolphins are better than the Jags, and they're better than the Texans, and they're better than all these, but they're not as good as Indianapolis or New England or Buffalo or Cincinnati or you. They are where they're supposed to be. Like Arizona right now, the way they're playing, they're more like Philadelphia than they are like Dallas or the Rams. But because they got off to such a good start early in the season, they have a record that's more like Dallas and the Rams. The Dolphins, 7-7, and I know everybody likes to tell you about the stat that I maybe heard 5,000 times this morning. The first team in NFL history to ever have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game win streak, or 6 games, or whatever it is. I don't care. I think the Dolphins are incredibly average. I think Tua is incredibly average. And I don't think it's going to work there in Miami. And I think Miami is just as much guilty of Tua's not having confidence as Tua is of not having confidence. Not impressed with the Dolphins last night. What did you think?
There was nothing really. I mean, I'm with you. Like, let's take the pick 6 out of it because I'm not really going to give Tua any sort of credit for that, obviously. The game's 13-3 against a Saints team that's playing their 4th-string quarterback, and they have essentially 0 offensive linemen. Now, I heard a lot of talk about, oh, my goodness, this Miami pass rush is something else. They were able to get to Ian Book 8 times, sack the quarterback 8 times.
Poor kid.
Poor kid. Bless his heart. Let me say that first and foremost.
By the way, I've watched Ian Book now play about 7 times on TV. Like, all the years he was at Notre Dame. Like, I'm not watching him play Temple or Duke. But, like, when they'd play
like
a big
Clemson
Notre Dame,
and then
he has
the
never,
playoff.
I don't think he's ever played well in any of the games that have mattered for Notre Dame on TV. And now this one.
And, I mean, and everyone wants to say Miami sacked the quarterback 8 times. This Miami defense is something else. It's Ian Book, who's their Saints' 4th-string quarterback, and they were picking up guys off the street on offensive line. So I understand that Miami did get to the quarterback 8 times last night, but I'm not going to say that's because the Miami defense is good. I'm just saying that Miami defense is an NFL-caliber defense playing against essentially practice squad players. So the one thing that people really want to tout from that game last night, and I'll give Jalen Waddle all of his credit because he is a bad man, but nothing that I saw from Tua was really that exciting to me. And that New Orleans defense is very good and was able to really cause some trouble for the Miami offense last night. So I think if the Titans defense can at least play the way that we've seen them being able to play this season, it should be no problem. It should be no problem.
Man, they stink. I mean, Miami is so average. They are so average. Now, if they had to go on the road and play and A.J. Brown wasn't there, I'd feel they're like the Steelers. That's who they are. I mean,
they could beat the Titans, but the Titans would have to beat themselves.
Everybody can beat the Titans.
And I see someone saying Miami's been doing this for weeks. What are you guys talking about? Miami's been doing this against the Jets and the Jags and against a Baltimore team that has essentially no players.
And Panthers. Don't forget the
Panthers.
Panthers.
And the Panthers.
Don't forget the Panthers.
And the Panthers. And I know the Titans couldn't beat the Jets.
Not impressed whatsoever with the Dolphins last night. I'll be honest, I watched the game. I really found myself checking out a lot, though. Like, mentally checking out from the game. Like, it's on my TV, but I'm not really. This is a boring game last night. Let's get to your phones on it next. 615-737-1025. Plus, we got another Titans COVID list to report. And I will say this. Maybe it's better now. I'll explain. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there, again, 615-737-1025, if you have a thought to get in. Trevor Maddich. Chad Withrow, by the way, will join us in an hour. I think he wants to debate my Tennessee Volunteers take, which he is welcome to do so. and so he will join us since we will not have a show on Friday. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to check out Nashville's best deals. The deal we have right now, get Downtown Dollars, $150 digital gift card for only $100. This gift card is redeemable at hundreds of Nashville downtown restaurants, shops, and more. With Downtown Dollars, you get more to spend at an old favorite or discover one of the many new destinations in downtown's growing neighborhoods. Also, it's the end-of-the-year blowout sale, so save 75% off at Bad Axe Throwing, Nashville Armory, and the Beanbag Coffee and Tea Shop. Check out other deals from the Woodhouse Spa, Brooklyn Bowl, Seafood Sensation, and more. Check out all of Nashville's best deals at thegamenashville.com/deals.
The Titans put an exclamation point on a heck of a victory.
The Titans sit at 10-5 as the Dolphins head to town.
Into the end zone. Touchdown, Dolphins.
We have you covered on all the news.
Talking about a team that has gone to an AFC title game, won the AFC South last year. You're on the verge of winning the AFC South again.
As they look to wrap up the AFC South.
You win the 2 games, you're the 2 seed no matter what.
Keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Lowe's Store and Save events, start the year fresh with Project Source Clear Storage Totes starting at $2.38. Valid through 3/18. Selection varies by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
Attention Nice List recipients. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here. Make this season your reason. Forget the halls, deck the garage. Hark, the turbo engines sing. Like hot cocoa in a blizzard, this opportunity won't last long. Hurry for these exclusive offers from Nashville's 2-time Best of the Best award-winning Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Just one exit from the airport. Go to mbofmc.com.
Treating erectile dysfunction with acoustic wave therapy has been getting a lot of attention lately. But you should know that some are promising results we just haven't seen and charging a lot of money for the treatments as well. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or any option to help your ED, you really should call us first. Unlike wave therapy-only clinics, the Tennessee Men's Clinic wave therapy protocols do use acoustic wave technology, but we also often combine it with other treatments that can give most of our patients far higher satisfaction rates. There is no surgery nor any type of invasive procedure required. And even better, depending on your treatment strategy and with our urologist and provider's guidance, you can likely have sex the day after your appointment. We even have other treatments that can help you last up to an hour. Plus, for a limited time, we're waiving our normal appointment charge, which includes a PSA and T test, and offering a free ultrasound, altogether nearly a $400 value, for free. So make an appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
Robbie Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexroad.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robbie and Rexroad every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Contest rules for 1025 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 1025 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Panera believes in saying yes. Yes to clean, fresh ingredients. Yes to the new chicken sausage and pepperoni flatbread topped with rich mozzarella. Yes to delicious mac and cheese. Yes to putting it on a sandwich, creating the grilled mac and cheese sandwich. And yes to impromptu road trips to Sandwich, Illinois. Because that's living life to the flavor fullest. Get $1 delivery when you order on our app. Panera. Live your yes. Pricing and product availability may vary. Visit PaneraBread.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Mike, when you play a team that's playing on a Monday night like the Dolphins are tonight, do you take the time and watch that game, or do you just wait and dissect the coach's tape?
I mean, I'm sure it'll be on, but we'll take a look at it. And Terry, I think you probably have to change your fire alarm battery. I think I heard it beep. It's just so amazing. But, you know, a lot of that will be done. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff will be done, and we'll have watched them, and then we'll try to add in anything that shows up tonight.
There you go. That was Vrabel talking about the Dolphins as they get set. Field Yates is reporting ESPN the Titans are placing Danico Autry on the COVID list. So add him to Jayon Brown, Cody Hollister, Julio Jones, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Bud Dupree, Buster Screen,
Caleb Farley,
though we don't care about him, Taylor Lewan, and Nate Davis. We're starting to get towards outbreak status here with the Titans.
And a little nervous.
On top of that, I said this earlier today with Carson Wentz, that I think that it's probably good for the Colts that this happened and that it didn't happen during a playoff game. Get worried about Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown testing positive the week of a playoff game, because I can deal with Jack Rabbit Jenkins testing positive the week of a playoff game and not playing. I cannot deal with Derrick Henry testing positive the week of a playoff game and not being able to play. Now, this just in. Adam Schefter says NFL and NFL Players Association have adopted the new CDC guidelines that reduce the quarantine time to 5 days from 10 days for all COVID-positive players who are asymptomatic, including those who are unvaccinated. So now, as long as you don't test positive on a Wednesday, you should be able to play for a Sunday. But keep in mind that the first round and the second round of the playoffs feature a lot of games on Saturday. In fact, I tried to predict the schedule of what the games are going to look like. It's going to be 3 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, 1 game on Monday for the first round of the playoffs, and then it'll be 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So you've got a 50-50 shot, and in the wild card round, more than 50-50 shot of playing that first game. I think just doing what I expected to happen this season. Now, I think it's going to get all thrown out of whack if the Colts lose this game, but maybe Wentz is able to play. But I think the Titans may end up playing on Sunday of that first weekend, but that was all just me throwing it out there as to see what the matchups could be. Let's go to your phones as promised before Trevor Mattis joins the 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Gator Tim texts in and says the Dolphins' defense is legit. They have 33 sacks over the last 7 games. Which I don't deny. I mean, that's great. But I also do look at the Dolphins' last 7 games with a little bit of an asterisk because they haven't been incredibly difficult opponents. And I know that includes 8 sacks against the Saints with a practice squad offensive line and a 4th-string quarterback.
Though right now you've got Taylor Lewan and Nate Davis on the COVID list.
Which is true.
So
yes.
You would be looking at Roger Saffold at left guard, Radens at left tackle right now if you had to play the Dolphins.
Or Quessenberry.
Well, Quessenberry plays right tackle. So 2 practice squad tackles.
Unless Lewan tests back in.
Unless Lewan tests back in, which he wouldn't have to test. Now it's just 5 days. If his symptoms are gone, he's in. So maybe it'll be fine. I do wonder, again, if it's you want the big names to not test positive. But the Titans, as long as they beat the Texans, are pretty much going to be the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Would it be the worst thing in the world if A.J. Brown hit the COVID list right now? And, again, you can't make A.J. hit the COVID list. And I'm not going to go tell Danico Autry to go kiss A.J. Brown to get him onto the COVID list. But, I mean, it wouldn't hurt my heart if it happened so that it would avoid happening in the playoffs. Why'd you give me that look?
It's just, you tell him to kiss.
I said I
Weirdo.
wouldn't.
I know.
But, that's how you guarantee that happens, right?
I know. I know you're saying a hypothetical situation.
Right. And I said I wouldn't. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says Miami D is going to feast on Tannehill.
All right. Okay. Who on the Miami defense is so good?
I don't know.
Like, what's special about the Miami Dolphins defense? And, again, I watched last night, and I don't know how you could have watched that game without a humongous grain of salt. Sean Payton said today, yeah, I mean, we can't evaluate. We can't evaluate Ian Book after last night, given the situation that he was in.
It's not fair. The kid was thrown into a position that he definitely wasn't ready for.
I mean, I just evaluate him because he sucked in college and he sucks here. The Dolphins have the 15th ranked defense in the NFL.
Middle of the road.
Here's who the Dolphins have beaten since their hot streak. Texans, Ravens, Jets, Panthers, Giants, Jets, Saints. One of those teams might make the playoffs, and it's the Ravens.
And they have so many players that are injured.
And they're not
It's
going
a completely different
They will
team
lose
that
to the
started
Rams
the
on
season.
Sunday, and they will not make the playoffs. The Ravens are not going to. So all those teams, none of them have made the playoffs. I mean, who you beat does matter. It doesn't matter when it comes to your total of wins. It does matter when it comes to whether or not you're any good. That does play a factor. What's next?
One texter says, how can you factor in that the fact that the Dolphins have only beaten the Jets and the Texans when the Titans haven't beaten the Jets or the Texans?
Because the Titans have beaten the Rams and the Colts. And again, when we're talking big picture, when you're saying, okay, big picture, who are you? Your record is what you are. Like, where are you going to place for the season? But that doesn't really mean how good you are. The Titans are going to be the number 2 team in the AFC, barring a bunch of random things happening. They'd have to lose to the Texans. The Bengals would have to beat the Chiefs. Like certain things that just don't seem like they're going to happen would have to happen in order for the Titans to not be the number 2 team in the AFC. The Titans are going to be the number 2 team in the AFC. Are the Titans really the second best team right now in the AFC? No, they're not. Maybe you would sit there and say, hey, don't talk bad about the Titans, Jared. But I'm just telling you, you go to anybody else outside of Nashville, and they will tell you Buffalo's probably better than the Titans. Cincinnati, they might consider better than the Titans. New England, they'll tell you is better than the Titans. Indianapolis, who everybody's got to rod up their rear end whenever they talk about them, they'll say that they're better than the Titans. But the Titans will finish second overall record. Your record's what gets you in, those kind of. That doesn't mean that I have to think the Dolphins are good because they've beaten a bunch of bad teams. I just don't think the Dolphins are bad. So they beat bad teams because they're better than bad. But put them on the field against the Indianapolis Colts, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to win. They haven't beaten the Bills this year. They'll play New England next week. We'll see. Because I think New England's a pretty decent team. But you're talking about me, 2 months of beating the Texans. Congratulations. Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst. He'll give us his thoughts coming up next. By the way, the Titans have made it official that Danico Autry is being placed on the COVID list. And let's not forget about Cody Hollister as well. Trevor Maddich will join us next, ESPN college football analyst. His thoughts on the college football playoff. By the way, they shut off the viewing window for the local media of these college teams. And the college media, did you see any of this yesterday? They are mad.
They are mad.
Oh, my goodness. Just maybe get mad about things people care about. I don't know. This Thursday, tune into the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl on 102.5 The Game and our sister station, 93.3 Classic Hits, as the Tennessee Volunteers take on Purdue at Nissan Stadium. Kickoff at 2. Coverage of the game presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Tickets are available at the Game Nashville. Tickets for the game are available at musiccitybowl.com.
This is Tanner Janot, and this is Smashville.
Rebound, ref finds there, and Janot scores! Tanner Janot scores!
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 1025, The Game.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as the Nashville Predators take on the Washington Capitals this Wednesday. Puck drops at 6, but the party starts at 5:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at Headquarters Beercade downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
Gary Ashton here. Most people in Nashville know me as the Don't Sell Without the Intel and the Guaranteed Offer guy. But despite my accent, I'm also 100% guaranteed Nashville. I'm a guaranteed musician, a guaranteed dog lover, and you're also guaranteed to see me at every Titans and Preds game. Guaranteed Offer means the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage will sell your house for top dollar with no cleaning, staging, showings, or open houses, and give you up to 90 days to close, so there's plenty of time to find your next home. Guaranteed Nashville means my team lives here and loves it here. We've served Nashville for over 20 years, and we're passionate about helping the people we call neighbors and friends, which is why we've had a long-standing tradition of donating to the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. If you're thinking about a guaranteed offer, get the only one that's guaranteed Nashville. Request a no-obligation offer by calling 615-301-1650 or go to GaryAshton.com today. Remember, Gary Ashton, guaranteed Nashville.
Get the gifts you really wanted at the Electronic Express huge after Christmas sale. Big savings with up to 50% off in every department. 4K TVs, computers, gaming, speakers and headphones, smart home, housewares, and more. That's not all. Get your kitchen ready for the new year with up to 40% off all your appliance needs. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the huge after Christmas sale at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Make Smoke Token the only stop for your holiday shopping, offering the largest selection of smoking products and accessories. We are the only place you need to go. Located in Nashville and Murfreesboro, Smoke Token is here and ready to help. Mention this commercial for 15% off your purchase.
Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is here to serve you. Is your AC or heating unit old and inefficient? Is it breaking down yearly? Now is the time to replace it. Waiting can cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Just like everything, the cost of a new AC unit is rising. Effective January 1st, all manufacturers are increasing prices up to 10%. Get ahead of the game and call Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, offering 60 months no interest financing and 10-year parts and labor warranty on all new units. Schedule now at springhillac.com or call 615-778-8855.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Hey Nashville, Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee here, inviting you to tune in on ESPN 94.9 every Monday at 6 p.m. for the Commodore Hour, providing you with exclusive insights on Vanderbilt athletics.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I don't know how much I should be paying attention or not paying attention. My team, Louisville, is currently in the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. They trail Air Force 28-14. Again, I'm not even really sure how much I care. Does it make me a bad? You've always accused me of being a bad college football fan. Mm-hmm. Does it make me a bad fan that, like, my team's in the First Responders Bowl and I'm not sure how much I care?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you care about your team in the Texas Bowl?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Who are they playing in the Texas Bowl?
They're playing Kansas State.
And who's their coach?
I don't know.
I mean,
does my level of caring about LSU being in the bowl game rely on knowing who their opponent's coach is, even though that opponent is not even in our conference?
Maybe a little bit. Like, if you really care that much about the game, you'd be like, okay, now his strengths
I'm going to be doing scouting for the game. I can't just
if
be a fan.
If you care that much?
If I can't just be a fan for the team that I'm a fan of?
If they were playing Kansas State in the regular season, you know who the coach is.
Well, but we didn't play them in the regular season.
But if it's the second game of the year, LSU, Kansas State.
I'm pretty busy with another football team at the moment.
Okay, all right. So, anywho, they're in the First Responders Bowl. We'll see how they do. They'll probably lose. I don't know, whatever. Anywho, a lot of these bowl games have been getting canceled. And, boy, every time a bowl game gets canceled, it does not matter what bowl game it is. Now, I'm not going to say people don't care about these bowl games because if you've seen the ratings for these bowl games, they are off the charts. And I hate this thing where, like, one team is already there, like Washington State was already in El Paso, Texas for the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. And they're like, we need an opponent ASAP. And I feel terrible for them. And Trevor Maddich joins us now, college football analyst, ESPN, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. And, Trev, I feel bad for these kids. I know the game is a big moneymaker for economies, and it's a big moneymaker for TV, and the ratings are huge, and people are betting these games. But what do we make of kind of these cancellations in college football? And I'm not sure it moves like the needle with me about, well, we don't have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, so whatever. I feel like I'm kind of whatevering a lot of this. What do you think of it?
Well, it means a lot to those players, for sure. And to the cities, the businesses, the charities that are involved with it. It means a lot to them. It means a lot to the parking attendants and the concession people and the people that own the concessions that bought up all those hot dogs and popcorn and soda pop and all the rest. How are they going to get rid of that? You know, I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know the answer to this, but I wouldn't be surprised if on the higher levels that the broadcast networks and the teams in terms of travel are protected by insurance against something like this so that they don't end up taking a huge hit. I'd be interested to know exactly how that works. But the smaller people on the scale, this is a great opportunity for them that they won't have. And so that makes me feel bad. And then the players, you know what? I can't think of, except for like Clemson is going to play in the Cheez-It Bowl, right? They're used to going to the playoff. So, when you have a situation like that, you can get players that aren't motivated. But most of these bowls have players that absolutely love the fact that they're playing in them. And so I feel bad for them that they don't have a chance to finish it out.
So I have a buddy that's a coach, and they played their bowl game, and he told me, he's like, look, we don't really care. The bowl games just don't mean as much anymore. They don't mean as much to the players anymore. They don't this, they don't that. And I would agree, and my level of caring about the bowl games aren't very high until we get to the big ones. But at the same time, the ratings are through the roof. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out, does college football, we always talk about the opt-outs every year. I'm totally fine with that. I don't have any problem with that. But does college football need to bring a little bit more juice back to some of these bowl games?
No, I think that juice for the bowl games would be in a non-COVID world where, for example, NC State goes out to the Holiday Bowl, which just got canceled hours before the game against UCLA. They get to go play around in San Diego. You let them go play around for the full week and really enjoy the city and things like that, get all the swag bags and really make it an event. Instead of you go out and you have to be very careful and, don't really enjoy the city because you have to keep COVID out of your ecosystem and all that stuff. I think that makes a difference. So you have a point about that. But from a standpoint of organizations and the top teams, they expect to go to the biggest bowls. The smaller teams that are trying to build up, Tennessee, for example, not a small team at all, but Tennessee to have 2 weeks of bowl practice, the opportunity to say that we are bowl champions over a Big Ten team should they beat Purdue in the Music City Bowl is awesome for recruiting. It's awesome for morale. It gives them a boost heading into the off season, and they get 2 extra weeks of practice to get some of those young guys up to speed for spring. And so lots of good things happen. But you talk about the Sun Bowl. It's interesting there. Boise State was supposed to play Central Michigan in the Arizona Bowl, and Boise State had to bow out. And so Central Michigan popped over to El Paso, and now they're going to play Washington State in the Sun Bowl. So you got some mixing and matching starting to go on right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more.
It is almost like the Tinder of college football bowl games. Trevor Maddich is our guest. Trev, what do you make about the college football playoff? We know this Omicron variant is very transmissible. We don't know how deadly it is. I think, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to speak on this stuff. I think it's not as bad as the other strains. But we see that a lot of these players are vaccinated. They're still getting it. And it's canceling a lot of these games. The college football playoff, meanwhile, saying, hey, you get too many cases. Sorry about it. Sorry about your luck. That worries me. That worries me that we're going to have one of these semifinals canceled or we're going to have the national championship game forfeited, and I think that's ridiculous. What do you make of us being able to play the playoff?
Well, it is ridiculous. It would be terrible if some team advanced or even won the national championship because of forfeit. Keep in mind, there's also the AP National Championship, the Coaches Poll National. There's a lot of national championships that won't be affected by this as much as the playoff will be.
Yeah, but nobody cares about those, Trevor. It's like 1937.
Yeah, but even so, for the playoff, if you've got to win it by forfeit, I mean, people would complain about it. They'd want an asterisk by your name and all that stuff. But what else do you do? What else do you do? Do you just vacate the whole thing? You could do that. Who benefits from that? At least if it's a forfeit situation, at least you go forward with one team wins by forfeit. Because let's just say, worst case scenario, let's say 3 of the 4 teams in the semifinals can't play the game because of COVID. The 4th team that could have played had their opponent not have to opt out as a team, that team becomes the de facto national champion, right? Or nobody's a national champion. So, I'm just saying,
should they change the rules? Should they say, hey, we get 2 teams for the national championship. We're going to delay this baby as much as we need to. The NFL is moving games to Tuesday. College can't move games?
They could move the national championship game back a few days. I think the 14th of January, I believe, is the last day they would move it to. What you run into there is the academic side. University presidents don't want those players to have to lose as much focus on school as they would if they moved it back another week, et cetera. Then you've got the issues with the fans traveling and stuff like that, but you'd have the same kind of issues if they had to cancel everything. And these players would rather play in an empty stadium and move it back as far as it goes. Because I will tell you that if both teams had a choice, they would say that let's move it back a week, 2 weeks, whatever it takes in order to play this game, even if there's no fans there. The problem is the players aren't going to be the ones that have that choice.
Trev, Tennessee takes on Purdue in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. Before you give us your thoughts on the game, I do wonder this. Tennessee, compared to where they were this time last year or whenever everything hit the fan for the volunteer program, I mean, they looked like they were a program that it was going to take 3 or 4 years for them to get just out of the muck. So far, Josh Heupel in his first year exceeded expectations probably by a game. And now they've got a Music City Bowl where they're going to pack the stadium. There's going to be Tennessee fans wall to wall on Thursday, which will be good. How important is a win? Because they're talking, the players are talking as if they've been rejuvenated by this opportunity. I know it's a proud program. I know their goals long-term are bigger than the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, but I do think this is a big game for them. And how tangible is a positive result for them if they end up getting it Thursday?
It would be incredibly tangible, especially given the expectations and especially given the nightmares that they've had in recent years. I mean, losing to BYU, losing to teams that they should not have lost to, in addition to the teams they should have lost to. And this is an opportunity for them to gain some momentum and to get some positive results, positive feedback on the tree from what the coach has been telling him. This is one thing the coaches always do. When a new coach comes in, it's vaporware. It is belief in what the coach tells you. They ask you to double down on your effort and the pain you go through to get ready, and you haven't seen any results yet because you haven't played a season with this coach yet. Then all of a sudden you have success over the season, which Tennessee has. They beat Kentucky, which was their best win, a massive win over a ranked team in division. That was huge, and it was validation of what Josh Heupel and this coaching staff had been telling them. Now, if they can knock off Purdue, it's more validation. It's more belief from what you see, not belief because you have to believe what somebody's telling you that hasn't happened yet. These are all things that are incredibly important for an organization that's trying to dig out of a hole, because if you don't believe, it's not going to work, and it gives them more opportunity to believe.
Trevor Matich is our guest. Coming up, we'll check in his thoughts on the Music City Bowl and what Tennessee's chances are to win. Plus, we'll handicap the college football playoff. What do we think about the two semifinals on New Year's Eve? We'll get Trevor's thoughts on that coming up next. Trevor Matich joins us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Stillman & Company's delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Showers and a couple rumbles of thunder possible as we get through the overnight, with temperatures dropping to the low 60s, low 70s Wednesday. A chance of strong to severe storms, mainly 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening. I'm Fox 17 Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
At Lowe's Store and Save events, start the year fresh with Project Source Clear Storage Totes starting at $2.38. Valid through 3/18. Selection varies by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
Barlines and the Omni Hotel, one of Nashville's favorite downtown destinations, gets raving reviews from the locals. Live music, great food, and a favorite spot to watch your Nashville Predators on any of the 22 big screen TVs. And great food is an understatement. How about award-winning hot wings, Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, smoked brisket tacos, and in-house homemade pimento cheese sandwiches. Barlines, an official Predators preferred watch party location, 1 block from Bridgestone in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi guys, are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The Wave technology at Hillside Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction today and get your love life back just in time for the holidays. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Yo, this is Justin from Music City Vintage. We're here to provide you with all your vintage apparel needs. Tons of great shoes and memorabilia from your past. We're located in the heart of East Nashville at 2503 Gallatin Avenue, where we do buy, sell, and trade. Got some clothes your stepdad gave you in the 90s? Found some dope clothes in your granddad's closet? Bring it by, we'll give you a cash offer. Found some at a thrift store and don't know where to sell it? Bring it by, we'll give you a cash offer. Got some new Jordans that don't quite fit well? Bring it by and we'll give you a cash offer. Music City Vintage, here to provide you with all your vintage and shoe needs. See y'all soon, Nashville.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. Get a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, simple deck height adjustments, and a quality cut. When you need comfort and performance, then you need the professional-grade Kubota Z400. Right now, get the Kubota Z400 more for 0 down, 0.99% APR for 36 months, plus no payments until April 1st, 2022. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Come see why Coleman Tractor Company is one of the largest Kubota dealers in Middle Tennessee, with 4 locations to serve you in Paris, Clarksville, Nashville, and their new location in White House.
Robbie Stanley.
That size and that speed just doesn't grow on trees. That can be something that you can really turn into.
Joe Rexrode.
Just hold out and somebody will call in the bad signal.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Thursday, we will have it right here on ESPN 1025 The Game, the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, as well as ESPN 94.9 and Classic Hits 93.3. So we'll have it on 3 channels. Right here, we will have the bowl game. Trevor Maddich is our guest, ESPN college football analyst, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters, Chase McCabe and I will be on the postgame show on Thursday as well. Trevor, what are the Vols' chances? Purdue came in here a couple years ago and got waxed by Auburn in the Music City Bowl. They come back for a chance against Tennessee. They've had some opt-outs. There's a lot riding on this game for the Vols, I think, in terms of, they really, really, really want to end on a high note. They really want to end with the fans on a high note. How challenging is Purdue going to be on Thursday?
Well, Purdue's got a hot quarterback in Aiden O'Donnell. He's really good. The problem is that he's missing his top 2 receivers. David Bell will be a first-round draft choice. He opted out. And then Milton Wright, the second leading receiver, also opted out. That leaves nobody on the Purdue receiving corps that has more than 10 catches, that averages more than 10.5 yards per catch. So the downfield passing attack will have to come from out of nowhere for Purdue to succeed that way. I think they'll throw a lot of short and medium passes, and Tennessee can kind of clog that up. I think and also on the other side, George Karlaftis, the great defensive end, he's going to be probably a top 15 pick in the draft. He also opted out, so that's good for Hendon Hooker. I think that the Tennessee offense, with its vertical nature, even though they've got some injuries on the offensive line and some other stuff going on, I think they're in a better position to do what they do best, which is up-tempo, throw the ball down the field, and then Tennessee has a much better rushing attack as well. And so I think Tennessee should win this game. I mean, they're favored right now by 5.5 points. I think it should be higher than that, and I'd actually be quite disappointed if they don't really show well in this game.
Trev, I think in this football game, one of the big things is going to be the crowd. I think that the energy from the Vol fans has been really positive so far this year. Do you think that matters long-term for this program?
It absolutely matters, because Tennessee is one of the great home field advantages when they're cranked, when they are full, when it's sold out and the team is winning. There is no better home field advantage that I've ever seen. And I'm talking about Penn State and Alabama and those places where it's hostile and it's loud, just the nature of the stadium with everybody kind of going vertically in Knoxville. It's a great home field advantage. But I'll tell you this, though, with all the issues that have happened over the last, decade more with Tennessee football, and all the disappointment from Tennessee Twitter and Tennessee fans, people that like to criticize and people that don't want to criticize, but that's all they had to do when they talked about the team. I would expect all of them to show up, to fill that stadium, and to make it seem like it's a home game and not like it's a holiday bowl game where, there's 20,000 people in the stands. So this is the time for Tennessee fans to put up or shut up in a major way.
Trev, what do we make of the college football playoff on Friday? Cincinnati, Alabama will kick it off in Dallas at 2:30. Those games will be right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Does Cincinnati have any chance?
Yes, they do. If Alabama plays at their very best, then nobody's going to beat them. They'll win the national championship. But we've seen Alabama up and down. And it's not that they play up or down to their opponent. I mean, at Auburn for the Iron Bowl, they didn't score a touchdown until the final minute. And so they play up and down. Against Georgia in the SEC championship game, Alabama was on fire. And if they're like that against Cincinnati, well, hey, that's it. But if they're not on fire that way, Cincinnati has the matchups to cause problems for Alabama, especially when you look at Cincinnati's secondary. It's the best group of defensive backs that Alabama will face all year, and that includes Georgia. And so you've got two lockdown corners for Cincinnati. Sauce Gardner will be a first-round draft choice, mid-first round. And then the other corner, Kobe Bryant, won the Thorpe Award for the best defensive back in college football. They've got safeties that can cover. Their linebackers are fast in that 3-3-5 defense. And they've got all kinds of ways to get after the passer with all kinds of exotic blitzes and stunts and things like that. With John Mechie, the second leading receiver for Alabama, out with injury, and with Sauce Gardner, the perfect kind of corner at 6'3", and tall, long, can run, to match up with Alabama wide receiver Jamison Williams, if Bama isn't on their game completely, Cincinnati has the ability to slow them down and make this into a game. So I don't think that Cincinnati can't compete and can't win, because they can.
Trev, the other game, Georgia has come out and said that they're going to go with Stetson Bennett. Nick Saban very clearly put the SEC title game in Stetson Bennett's hands, and at no point was Stetson Bennett able to compete with Bryce Young and the Alabama offense. And yet Georgia is convinced he's the best guy to give them a chance to win against Michigan. I saw Michigan absolutely push Ohio State around in their biggest game of the season this year. I really am kind of nervous about Georgia, whose best win was Kentucky.
Well, that's reasonable, but I don't think Stetson Bennett is the problem. I mean, Stetson Bennett made mistakes in the SEC championship game. But his total QBR, which ranks not just his passing, but passing, running, turnovers, decision-making in certain ways, it was 75 out of 100. 50 is average. So Stetson Bennett, even with the mistakes, still played well enough to win that game. It was the Georgia defense that caused the problem in that game. And Stetson Bennett is second in the nation in yards per pass attempt. Stetson Bennett, second in the nation. He's sixth in the nation. Check that. Fourth in the nation in passer rating. So Bennett hasn't been the problem. People that say that he can't get the ball down the field, he can't make big plays, he's just a game manager. Well, he's been doing it all year long, and you can say that he didn't do it against good competition. You can say he didn't do it enough against Alabama. That's fair. But ultimately, this team is built for the defense to control games and for the offense to play complementary football, and that's what Bennett did against Alabama. The defense didn't show up in their part of the role. Now, Michigan, this is the fun part of this game, because Georgia will come out on fire. It will be caveman fury, because they didn't just lose to Alabama. They were humiliated by Alabama. They were embarrassed by Alabama in the SEC championship game. And the conversation has shifted. I think it's unfair that it shifted so far to say that, yeah, Georgia's overrated and they're not very good. And I don't think that's fair at all. They ran into a buzzsaw, and Nick Saban was inside the head of the Georgia defensive brain trust, and Alabama just happened to be, just accidentally, in the exact best pass protection to pick up the blitz or the stunt that Georgia was running on a given play, or the best pass pattern to take advantage of a coverage or a disguise on a given play. Well, it's not going to be that easy, especially if they meet again. They're going to switch some things up. But they're going to take it out, Georgia, on Michigan. Georgia's going to treat Michigan like every slight that they've ever had since childhood was done by Michigan, and this is a revenge game. But the thing is, the Wolverines are going to the NFL too. The Wolverines are one of the most physical teams in the country too. And so this is going to be a collision of giants. And I absolutely cannot wait to see this game. Michigan is good enough to win the national championship, but so is Georgia. And so how they come out in this game, I'm going to be very interested to see.
He's the best in the business. Trevor Maddich, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters. Trev, have a very happy New Year. Always good to talk to you, and I know you will be enjoying the college football playoff this weekend.
Thanks, Jared. I can't wait.
Yep, Trevor Maddich, as always, joining us on the program. I mean, I thought the way he was talking about Georgia right there for a second was like, hey, you know what? Saban just got in their heads in the SEC title game, which I think is true, and that they're going to go and make Michigan their you-know-what because – and then he was like, but Michigan – I got to say this. Listen to this name I'm going to throw out there. Sharon Moore. He's the offensive line coach and co-offensive coordinator at Michigan. Josh Gaddis is the other co-offensive coordinator. He calls the plays. Gaddis is going to be the first one of the two that gets hired. But the offensive line of Michigan won the award for the best offensive line in college football, which normally goes to Alabama. Mm-hmm. He won that award, Sharon Moore did. Plus, I talked to somebody that I trust that would know who told me somebody's going to hire Gaddis. They should hire Moore instead of Gaddis. So when all these names come up, people want to hear these names that they know, and Sharon Moore, offensive line coach at Michigan, I'm telling you, co-offensive coordinator, I think that guy is a coaching superstar in the making. Great recruiter, great communicator, and obviously his offensive line is kicking ass. So keep an eye out there. So Chad Withrow told me yesterday, he's like, we got to talk about your Tennessee take. My take that the Vols just don't move the needle in Nashville like they used to. He's like, we got to talk about that Friday. I'm like, we got the playoff on Friday. We got the bowl game on Thursday. And tomorrow we're out at 5 o'clock because the Predators are taking on Peter Laviolette and the Washington Capitals. Thank God we got a game. So the only time to do it's today. So clearly he wants to talk about this tweet.
Yes.
I'm a believer in giving someone the forum to do so. He will join us next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
274 yards, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. You're not going to win a game that way.
The voice of the fan.
I'm tired of let's just give it to a quarterback.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
2022 is in full swing. Are you ready for more Preds hockey? Join us to watch your Nashville Predators in action January 11th and 13th, live from Smashville. It's your Preds against the Avalanche and Sabres. This team is on fire, and the atmosphere at Bridgestone Arena is insane. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to make sure you get a seat. Grab your friends and your gold, because Smashville is waiting for you. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets to make it official. Let's go, Preds!
I stay very active. For my 40th birthday, I ran a 50-mile race, and to train for that, I was running about 70 miles a week. But over the years, that's deteriorated to a point where even running a mile, my knee would swell, and the pain that I would have would sideline me for several days.
That's Shane Mosney's story that led him to QC Kinetics.
I elected to choose a combination regenerative therapy that helps my knee regenerate to a point where I'm able to get out and start running again. But more importantly, I left there with a lot of hope.
QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments boost your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery.
Those guys have given me back a part of my life that was deteriorating. I just ran my first 10K since my therapy, so I'm trying to pick a good half marathon to run, but my goal is to run another marathon, yes.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4224. QC Kinetics, 249-4024.
You already know the best burger place in town is Joyland in East Nashville. Now it's your chance to work for them. Joyland is looking for cooks to join their incredible team as soon as possible. Joyland offers employee benefits like insurance, HSA, FSA plans, short-term disability, $1,000 baby bonus for anyone that is expecting or adopting, paid time off, travel discounts, $350 bonus after 60 days, and more. Email info@eatjoyland.com to apply now. Joyland is an equal opportunity employer.
Save cash fast for the holidays with the Game Deal of the Week. Spread holiday cheer with Downtown Dollars this year. Redeemable at hundreds of downtown Nashville shops, restaurants, and more. Receive $50 free with your purchase of a $100 digital gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman. On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So, on Sunday, the Tennessee Volunteers arrived at Music City for the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, which you can hear right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9. And we'll have pregame and postgame coverage as the official station of the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. And they tweeted out that Nashville's team had arrived. And I sent out a tweet, and Chad Withrow replied to the tweet on Twitter and then texted me and said, I got to come on this week to talk about my tweet. So Chad Withrow joins us, presented by Apple Collision Centers, online at applecollisioncenters.com. So here's what I want to do. Again, it said the Vault Twitter tweeted out that Nashville's team had arrived, and I will have Caroline read the tweet, and then, Chad, the floor will be yours for a full, open response, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. I've got the tweet ready also, but I'd rather hear it from Caroline's voice than mine. So, Caroline, go ahead.
Jared says, LOL, Vol football has never moved the needle less in Nashville than it does today.
So Jared, you're a young guy, right? But you were alive a year ago when Tennessee went 3-7 under Jeremy Pruitt. And you were alive when Tennessee didn't win an SEC game in Butch Jones's final year. So can we not recognize that there have been times where Tennessee football has moved the needle less in Nashville because of losing? Because I feel like your main argument is Tennessee hasn't won enough, so they've lost fans. I will agree that they haven't gained fans that are moving here because they haven't won enough, but Tennessee's not losing a ton of fans right now. So this is definitely factually incorrect. They have moved the needle less in Nashville in recent years, as opposed to a season where Josh Heupel, on every publication I read, had the best first year of any new coach in college football. They went 7-5, scored a bunch of points, played faster than any team in college football, and are going to a bowl game in Nashville. Oh, by the way, that bowl game is about to be sold out. Titans games aren't selling out in Nashville, but Tennessee is going to sell out a bowl game in Nashville. So completely factually incorrect on your part.
Okay, here's my response to that. You were on the radio here in town in 2017 when they didn't win an SEC game. So you remember that, and you remember, every day what that was that coaching search. You want to talk about moving the needle. We could not, and I'm sure you experienced the same thing, because that was back when a lot of people used to listen to that station. And that we could not talk about that every second of the day. I remember the Titans beat the Colts on a Sunday, the same Shiano Sunday or whatever, and we literally did like one segment the following Monday talking about the Titans beating the Colts. Then the only other Titans conversation we had the whole week was on Friday when John Robinson came on the show to talk about the Texans game. And other than that, it was Vols, because it was such a big deal here in this town. Last year during the coaching search, it was in the middle of January, late January, early February. And I thought, this stuff, they're hiring a new athletic director. Philip Fulmer's out. Like, this is going to be big. And I just saw it, how it didn't do anything for us. It didn't move the needle. It was almost like Vol fans were totally subdued. And I look now at the context of, moving the needle as far as talking about Tennessee, or I can talk about Ryan Tannehill for 4 hours a day. The second that I stop talking about Ryan Tannehill, if we talk about the Vols. Now, the Vols move the needle more than other things. Like, they move the needle more than Nashville SC because nobody really cares about that.
Can we agree that they move the needle more than any other college team in Nashville? Obviously, they don't move the needle more than the Titans.
They move it more maybe than any other individual team, but I would say a big SEC story, like Nick Saban, owning Kirby Smart in the SEC championship game, that I think moves the Nashville audience that is a giant melting pot of SEC fans. That, I think, moves the needle more than any one story surrounding the Vols right now. And Heupel's won some games.
You're shifting. Hold on 1 second. Let me get on that first part because you're now shifting your argument. Because yesterday I listened to you, and I listen to you guys quite often. Nice job. And for everyone else that's listening to you guys, nice job with that. But I'm listening to you, and your argument was Tennessee doesn't win enough to move the needle, and they're risking losing the mid-state and their stranglehold on the mid-state because they don't win enough. Now, I'll agree the needle moving was a lot more when they were incompetent and because the fans were revolting and because that entire coaching search was a complete you-know-what show. But now that they're competent, yeah, it's going to be more quiet. I mean, last year's coaching search, why did it not move the needle as much? Because no one knew what the hell Danny White was up to the whole time because they didn't have leaks. They didn't have infighting. They have an AD that's actually competent and can conduct a search without anyone knowing what's going on. If you remember, he was even upset that there was a leak on the day that they made the hire that he had to clean up. That's why it didn't move the needle as much there. So you can't have it both ways. Tennessee won this year more than they have in recent years. They had competence across the board. There weren't a lot of off-field issues. They have an AD that can stay out of their own way. But because they quietly won, they don't move the needle as much. Yet yesterday, you were arguing they don't win enough to move the needle. So is it either win so much that you're winning titles or be so incompetent that you're going to move the needle that way that just going 7-5 is not enough for you?
So I would argue, yes, actually is that case for big picture. Because I think when I talk about the winning, my theory is this. 10 years ago, and you were here 10 years ago, and look, you grew up here just like I grew up here. And so you remember, and you're older than me, so you remember like the Johnny Majors transition to Philip Fulmer and the Philip Fulmer years and the championship and everything else. And I contend that if Tennessee football has another 10 years, like their last 10 years, there will be more Alabama football fans. If Alabama has the same 10 years like their last 10 years, there will be more Alabama football fans in Nashville than there will be Tennessee fans. And every Tennessee coach has had a good year. Butch Jones, that first 8-4 year, was a good year. Jeremy Pruitt, people thought was a good coach after the second year. So every coach can have a decent year at Tennessee. It's not going to be an unmitigated disaster. But if the next 10 years are like the last 10 years and Alabama the same way, there will be more Alabama fans in Nashville than there will be Tennessee fans. That's just my opinion.
If that's the case, that's an indictment on a generation that's younger than you and their hipster ways, that they're going to switch teams based on winning. And now suddenly everyone's going to become an Alabama fan. Maybe in 10 years that happens. But again, your tweet was about right now. And I can tell you moments where Tennessee has moved the needle less. I'll also say that Tennessee, go look at the ratings for college football games this past year. In Nashville, 4 of the top 10 featured Tennessee, a 7-5 team, not a team competing in the college football playoff. If you think the Tennessee Vols do not move the needle, and oh, by the way, we both know this, Jared, that was a tweet directed squarely at where Tennessee is practicing this week, and that is at Vanderbilt. That was a shot at the SEC team in Nashville, which we know and everyone else knows, and I know you grew up a Vanderbilt fan.
Oh, Vanderbilt.
This is a Tennessee town before it's a Vanderbilt town, right?
Oh, first of all, it was never a Vanderbilt town. Like, it was never, like, at least in my lifetime. The 1930s, I can't tell you. But in my lifetime, there were always more Tennessee fans than Vanderbilt fans. And when I talk about, now, look, Vanderbilt has decayed at a much faster pace because Vanderbilt hasn't done anything to try to stop it. Tennessee has done things to try to stop it. They just sometimes make decisions that go in the wrong direction. But I think Vanderbilt basketball, is a very good example of how you can move the needle a little bit, and because of complete ineptitude, eventually everybody just isn't interested anymore. And I'm not saying Tennessee will ever be that. Tennessee football will ever be that. But I do think that kind of the trajectory, I mean, we're sitting here being excited about 4 out of the top 10 games were Tennessee games. I mean, 10 years ago, it would have been 10 out of the top 10 games or 8 out of the top 10 games would have been Tennessee games. And I guess that's the point I'm making, is that it keeps going down, 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 down. It's not all the way at the basement, but I feel like it's going down and maybe a little bit quicker than people would have wanted.
Well, look, we like ratings, right? We like to follow ratings. We like to see ratings when they're good. We like to tout ratings. I'm telling you that a 7-5 team in Nashville had 4 of the top 10 highest rated games on television. Now, some of that has to do with their opponents in those games and fan bases with those opponents in Nashville. But the fact Tennessee's in 4 of them shows you Tennessee is still top dog in Nashville, Tennessee. They absolutely move the needle. There have been times where it's moved the needle less. Now, if we want to get into a broad discussion of the demographics of Nashville and how that's changed and all the influx of people and all that, yeah, the city has changed. And there's a lot more, Caroline's an LSU grad. The whole SEC, all the Big Ten, all over the country, the Big 12 is now represented in the city of Nashville. So there's a lot more people here. The percentage of people who follow sports that are Tennessee fans, that percentage is smaller. But because there's more people, I also think there's more Tennessee fans. There's also just more of everything else. Now, I'm not going to argue that this isn't a Titans town first. And if I'm doing your show or we're doing our old show on Nashville radio, we're going to spend more time talking Titans than anything else. But squarely in second place is the Tennessee Vols. The Tennessee Vols, by the way, who in basketball, who you say no one cares about this time of year, sold out Bridgestone Arena. I don't know how many sellouts the Nashville Predators have had in that same arena. Yet the Tennessee Vols basketball team, in a time of year supposedly no one cares, sold out Bridgestone Arena. So trust me when I tell you, having done this for many years, the Tennessee Vols still move the needle in a huge way.
Yeah, but like if Kentucky basketball played at Bridgestone Arena, they'd sell that out too. And we're not going to do 4 hours of Kentucky basketball talk on this show.
Well, I'm not telling you to do 4 hours on Tennessee basketball talk. I'm just telling you that Tennessee is selling out that arena. That means something in Nashville. This is not their hometown, but it is, first and foremost, if you're looking at college fan bases, a Tennessee town. And again, that was a shot at Vandy. We all know what that tweet was about. It was a direct shot at Vanderbilt. You've got Tennessee players now talking about, jumping all over the Vanderbilt field this week. By the way, I would not let Tennessee practice on my field if I were Vanderbilt. That could be a separate discussion. I think that's odd for a head coach in Clark Lee, who I like, who said that one of his main memories at Vanderbilt was having a team come in and take over his weight room where he couldn't even go work out as a Vanderbilt football player. So I think it's weird that's being allowed right now. But anyway, I completely disagree with your tweet. So I'm glad we had a chance to have it out.
I do want to talk about the demographics, though, of the city, because you brought up a good question that I was thinking about and something that we kind of talked about, which I want to get to on the other side, and that's what we'll do. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I don't know why we gave it out, but I just gave out the phone number. Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360, presented, as always, by Apple Collision Centers. Again, those are Mark Howard's guys, so be sure to check them out, applecollisioncenters.com. More with Chad next, and we'll get Chad's thoughts because – again, we're not going to have a lot of shows on the Titans situation. We'll get that as well. Stillman and Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The Titans put an exclamation point on a heck of a victory.
The Titans sit at 10-5 as the Dolphins head to town.
Into the end zone. Touchdown, Dolphins.
We have you covered on all the news.
Talking about a team that has gone to an AFC title game, won the AFC South last year. You're on the verge of winning the AFC South again.
As they look to wrap up the AFC South.
You win the 2 games, you're the 2 seed no matter what.
Keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do great prices and selection on trucks and SUVs still exist? They do in Truckville. Sarah Chevrolet Buick GMC of Nashville has the largest selection in Tennessee. And we keep getting fresh stock on our lots every day. We're committed to offering you our best price and a 5-star experience, which is why we're still known as the destination for trucks and SUVs. Come visit Truckville, Tennessee today in person or online at saranashville.com.
Hey, it's Jared. Your body needs water. That doesn't mean it has to be boring. And I'm here to tell you to give Focus a try. Focus is a sparkling water with a spark. It's infused with a boost of natural tea caffeine so you get clean energy without sugar, calories, or crash. Go to drinkfocus.com to find the full lineup of flavors and get them delivered right to your door. Enter promo code GAME at checkout for 15% off your first order. Focus is also available at your local Publix. That's Focus, P-H-O-C-U-S, on the web at drinkfocus.com.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com now to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I have some very disturbing news to share with you, Caroline.
What?
Apparently, Joe Rexrow just told me that he's got a 4 o'clock flight home from Tampa tomorrow, so he probably can't do Jared versus Joe tomorrow.
Bummer.
I am very disappointed.
What are we going to do? We'll tell him to reschedule his flight.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's selfish of him.
Very selfish. I guess we've just we've gone full on the embrace debate model as we got Chad Withrow with us again, presented by Apple Collision Centers. So, Chad, there's a couple thoughts I want to get to on our previous discussion about moving the needle in Tennessee and the demographics in Nashville. But the text line's actually kind of spicy, so I want to get to these. And our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you're okay with that, Caroline, please start us off.
One texter says, Jared admitted on air a few years ago that he grew up hating the Vols more than he loved Vanderbilt. All anyone needs to know.
Chad, do you think that I am a Vols hater and that that's where this comes from?
I think that, yes, you are definitely a Vols hater. I think you also typically do a good job of sharing your honest opinion, regardless of that. I'm the first to admit, because I think honesty is important. I grew up a Tennessee fan. I went to Tennessee. I want Tennessee to do well. So, subconsciously, that's probably always going to creep in. I'm not going to deny that, but I can also give my honest opinion on things. Do I think that you're saying that just because you're a Vols hater? No. Do I think that you're a little bit misguided in saying that and that your Vols hatred has something to do with it? A little bit? Yes.
See, here's my thing. I think, to Chad's point there, I'm going to tell it like I feel it kind of guy. Now, how I feel it sometimes might be a little crazy.
That's fair.
I understand there are sometimes that I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy who watched Tannehill, took the cheese on it, was like, yeah, Tannehill over Brady, all that kind of stuff or whatever. And I hate admitting that I once said that and thought that. But I would say, like, for people that say, well, Jared grew up a Tennessee hater, and so he hates Tennessee, like, I grew up a Vanderbilt fan, and I don't care about Vanderbilt. Like, I don't watch Vanderbilt basketball. If Vanderbilt basketball has a good team, I'd probably watch, but they haven't had a good team in like 5 years. So I used to go to Vanderbilt basketball games when Kevin Stallings was a coach. You guys know I can't stand him. And yet now, if somebody were like, hey, you want to go to the Vandy game? Pass. And so I feel like I kind of left that behind me. Though I do carry, I think, a lot of scars regarding the Titans, probably from my childhood into my radio career.
That is true.
I think
you are quite the Vols hater.
Well, and yes, Caroline, you're right. He is a Vols hater. And I'll say this about that facet of this demographic in Middle Tennessee. If you are not a diehard Tennessee fan, you are a Vol hater. Why is that? Because Tennessee is the dominant team in Middle Tennessee. And when you aren't a part of something, you hate it when you live there. If you were a Tennessee fan living in Alabama, you would hate Alabama because that's all you're going to hear about and all you're going to be surrounded by. So when you're surrounded by something constantly, you learn to hate it even more. So I think that plays into what I'm saying about the Tennessee fan base being so strong here is I grew up with tons of people that don't even really care about college sports that hate Tennessee simply because they went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with so many Tennessee fans, and they find them to be annoying, so now they hate them.
See, that though is an interesting point because I remember like growing up here, and I felt that exact way that Chad's talking about. Like, and I remember like the Monday, and Tennessee was good, and every year and the SEC was smaller. So there weren't a ton of bad games. Like, now you got to play Missouri every year. And nobody cares about that. So it was like LSU and Arkansas was decent and Georgia and Florida was good with Spurrier. And, like, these were big games every week and they were fun. And, like, yes, Tennessee was so powerful here that when they lost, it was like as an 8-year-old, I couldn't get to the radio fast enough to hear the callers on a Monday talk about how could Randy Sanders have cost Tennessee that game. And I loved every second of it. And now it's like, hey, that game, forget about that game because the Titans just kicked a field goal to beat Tampa Bay, or, they just won the Super Bowl, so they're a bad example. They just kicked a field goal to beat, some random team, and everybody wants to spend 4 hours talking about that. And I think that's more the demographics of becoming more of a pro sports town than what we were back in the day, Chad.
I mean, it's a Titans town. I would disagree with you that it's a pro sports town. It is a Titans town, then it is a college football town. But Titans first, then college football. I mean, you could pick your fan base in the SEC. You can pick your fan base anywhere, but you look at the ratings, you look at what people want to talk about. It is Titans, then college football, and then everything else after that. And as far as Tennessee losing, not meaning as much, you're right, because, heck, when I grew up, I mean, I've told this story a lot, but I remember going to school at Tennessee. I remember beating South Carolina 23-3 when I was a sophomore at Tennessee and being pissed off that Tennessee only beat South Carolina by 20. And then fast forward 5 years, and I'm sitting there praying for any win over South Carolina in football. I think what it's done is it's reset Tennessee fans to the point where they're not going to take it for granted if they're good again. If Tennessee ever gets to the point where they're contending for college football playoff spots or they're really good, they are going to be the most obnoxious, loudest fan base in history because they're not going to take it for granted ever again because they've seen the depths now and they know what it's like. But yeah, I'd agree with you. It has become a lot more commonplace for Tennessee fans to deal with heartbreaking defeat in football, and it's not as big of a deal anymore.
I think we can all agree with this, though, because I said this like 2 or 3 years ago, and I think I said it on the show. I definitely said it in private to my dad. Like, it's time for the Vols to be good again. And I mean, not like 7-5 good. I mean, like, it's time for the Vols to be, a top 13 team on the road at Georgia. Game comes down to a field goal, overtime, either way. Like, it's time for that. It's time for Tennessee to be back in the mix for the SEC East. Like, it's time, right? Like, it feels like it's time. Now, Chad's probably right. The Vol fan obnoxiousness is probably going to be 300% of what it was in the 90s because it's been so long. But, like, we can all agree it's time for the Vols to be good again, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, but if you hate Tennessee, there's no winning in this debate. Because the moment Tennessee gets good, it's not going to be good enough for the Vol haters. Oh, you didn't win the national title. Or, you beat Georgia and Florida, but you didn't win the East. Something's not going to be good enough. Or, oh, well, yeah, you won a national title. Now it's time. It's never going to be good enough. Everyone is going to take delight in Tennessee's failures. And the year that Tennessee over-delivers, they went over the Vegas win-loss total. They did more than people thought. They were fun. They didn't have a bunch of people getting arrested off the field. They don't have a bunch of people academically ineligible like in years past for a bowl game. They seem like a bunch of good, hard-playing guys with a coach that's likable. They score a lot of points. Then it becomes, well, now I'm ready for Tennessee to do something better than 7-5. Come on, beat someone. Be better than 7-5. If you are a Vol hater listening to this right now, you need to root for the SEC team in this town to win a football game in the SEC more than once every 3 years. That is what will turn the tide. This is a bandwagon town. I don't disagree with you, Jared, that in 10 years, Alabama may be the dominant fan base in this town the way things are going. I watched in 2017 where people who never saw a hockey puck lived and died with every moment during a Preds playoff run, and they jumped on board. And, hey, some of them stuck around and have continued being Preds fans. That's great. You have this huge influx of people in Nashville. If you truly hate Tennessee and Tennessee fans, root for Vandy to do something, anything, win a game, compete, be good in basketball. The two sports that matter in college sports, college football, men's college basketball. Be competent in one of those two and stop worrying about Tennessee in the end of a successful season being 7-5 and saying, oh, well, Tennessee needs to win more games. I'm ready for Tennessee to win more games. No, you want Vandy to be good so people coming into town that don't care about college sports can jump on the Vandy bandwagon, and then Tennessee will matter less. Until that happens, it's not the case.
What else we got?
Well, another texter texts in response to Chad and says, blaming the Vols' lack of relevance on fans being hipsters is the worst, most homerous take I have ever heard on this show, and I've heard someone say Tannehill is better than Kyler Murray. I think that was me. Excuse me for not wanting to watch bad 7-5 football when I can do literally anything else.
First off, there's nothing bad about this brand of 7-5 football. I'm sorry that this hipster that texted you guys doesn't like scoring 38 points a game and snapping the ball every 8 seconds. You can say 7-5 is not good enough, but this is not bad 7-5 football. For the first time in years, this is actually enjoyable 7-5 football. If you want to watch boring, bad 7-5, 8-5 football, rewind 2 years to Jeremy Pruitt's 8-win team. That was a boring 8-win team to watch. Then you have an argument. And I'm arguing that Tennessee is relevant. Now, I'm not arguing that their irrelevance has something to do with hipsters in this town. My argument was because Jared said in 10 years, Alabama will be the predominant fan base. And let me tell you, if that's the case, it will be because of hipsters that want it all right now, that jump on the Bama bandwagon because they simply want to be attached to something that wins all the time. And that is why Bama will be predominant here. Not because people are moving here from Montgomery or Tuscaloosa and overtaking Nashville. It's because people are jumping on a bandwagon.
Yeah, I think this crazy, too, about that point, which I don't disagree with. But, like, I don't even think Nick Saban cares about Alabama that much. And, like, I consider Nick, like, you know, I wouldn't say that, like, Nick and I are buddies, but, like, I guess I would know him a little bit more than, like, the average person just from being around him a couple of times and, like, in a non-radio setting. And, like, I just don't feel like he cares about Alabama that much. I feel like he's, like, you know, a mercenary. And whoever Nick's working for, Nick's trying to beat you. And then if Nick were to go somewhere else, he'd care about them just as much as he cared about LSU, just as much as he cared about Michigan State. Like, it's just a job to save.
Well, Nick doesn't care about Alabama. He cares about winning.
Right.
He just wins with Alabama.
Which I think is
he
amazing.
Wins despite his own fans.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, he doesn't – now, he cares about the Bama fans that give him money and help with the program and the boosters that are out there. But, I mean, we saw the guy earlier this year – lecturing his own fans at his radio show. And what were those fans doing? Yeah, you tell him, Coach Saban. You get after him, Coach. You tell him. He's talking about you morons, when he's doing that. It's hilarious to me that he absolutely doesn't like his own fan base. He thinks that the lowest common denominator of his fan base probably gets in the way, and he tolerates them because he knows that they're one small piece on that machine, that wheel that keeps on turning and wins titles for him. But Caroline's right. I mean, Nick Saban cares about winning, and that's about it.
That is it. So what are your thoughts on the Music City Bowl? And I asked Trevor Maddich this question. How big is a win on Thursday? Because you remember what it was like last year in terms of just negativity and just this feeling like the Vols were going to be stuck in the mud for 10 years or whatever. Josh Heupel did exceed expectations this year. I feel like there will be even the recruiting class I thought was positive, you know, a couple weeks ago. How positive would a win be on Thursday? And how would it be bad if they lost in that regard, or is it all house money with Thursday's game?
I mean, I think it's, to an extent, it's a little bit of house money, but it will be terribly disappointing if they don't win, in a couple reasons. One, this is the rare bowl game that's a preview and not a review. This is a preview of next year. They're getting back there pretty much their entire offense. that's going to be playing in this game. If Cade Mays is able to go and Cade Mays decides to not go pro, they'll have all 5 guys in the offensive line that'll start next year. So this is sort of a propeller game into next season. Plus, you got Purdue going without David Bell, going without Karlaftis, their best offensive player, their best defensive player. News came down today. Their second leading receiver is out because of academics. Their top cornerback is out because of academics. This is a game Tennessee should win. If they don't, I don't think it's it doesn't kill their season or kill all momentum. Just like I don't think a win, gives them all this extra momentum going to the offseason. But what it does is it gives a sour taste in everyone's mouth going into what is a very important offseason of development for this team because of so many guys coming back. And if Tennessee is going to take that next step, you want to see them make past 7-5 to contending with Georgia and Florida. This is the type of game you go out and you show everyone, hey, this offense isn't a fluke. This offense can reach even new heights. And you go out and you beat a shorthanded Purdue team. It's that simple in a game that's going to be in front of, 70 to 80% Vols fans here in Nashville.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, presented by Apple Collision Centers. As always, thanks for jumping on a special day for us since we're off on Friday with the college football playoff. Chad, as always, appreciate you. Happy New Year, by the way, to you and Hutton and Paul and to your whole family as well.
Always fun. Happy New Year to you, Caroline, Ian, everyone there at 102.5 The Game. Enjoy these segments. And, if Joe keeps missing out, Jared, maybe I'll just have to come on and debate you at some point again this week or next. So
maybe we need to get Paul at some point in here to get Paul going.
We might have to do pay-per-view for you versus Paul.
That may be some. There may be some
when
truth.
Paul
to that.
comes on your show, have the dump button ready because Paul doesn't have the best restraint when it comes to swearing on radio.
That is well documented. Chad, appreciate it as always, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep, Chad Withrow joining us again, presented by Apple Collision Centers. Boy, I got to tell you, some of these texts in the text line, I was reading them during the break, and I was kind of laughing out loud.
Can I read one that we didn't get to, but is hilarious enough to talk about?
Sure. Hal Gill already doesn't like me enough, so it's fine.
Well, he likes me, so just blame it on me. True. Honestly, Nashville is more of a Belmont and Lipscomb town than it is Van Deer, Tennessee.
God.
The Vols are considered the worst team in the SEC.
Signed, Joe Rexroad. Joe Rexroad, Basketball Benny. What do you mean you don't want to talk about Lipscomb and Belmont at 8:30 in the morning? You're right. I don't want to talk about Lipscomb and Belmont. No disrespect to Lipscomb or Belmont. At 8:30 in the morning. I'm sorry, but Lenny Acuff basketball just doesn't do it for me.
As wonderful as they are, I don't know if I would necessarily call Nashville a Lipscomb town.
Look, those were my old neighbors, Lipscomb and Belmont. I lived right over there. So, but, come on now. Hal Gill, the Predators are actually going to play hockey tomorrow because they're in Washington, D.C. He'll join us next. What's this been like? I can't remember the last time they played hockey. But the last time they did play hockey, they won a bunch of games. So Hal Gill will join us coming up next. Invigorate Health. Who's trying to lose weight? That's right. Who's got a New Year's resolution? Now that your holiday cookies and cakes and everything else are in the back, who's thinking about, man, I have got to find a way to lose weight? And you've tried and tried and tried and nothing has happened. Well, this is where semaglutide comes into effect. And semaglutide is carried exclusively at Invigorate Health with 2 area locations, one in Mount Juliet, one in Franklin. What is semaglutide? It is a safe drug that has been used for years and has been prescribed to diabetics. And now it has been approved by the FDA for weight loss. That's right. Semaglutide can help you lose weight. It is an appetite suppressant that will keep you from eating the extra calories that have kept you overweight your entire life. So if you've been struggling with it, talk to your doctor, but give Invigorate Health a call. It's really simple. Those are my guys at Invigorate Health. They know all about semaglutide because a lot of them have used it, and they know exactly what the effects are. It is a breakthrough drug. Men's Health magazine hailed it as a breakthrough that helps people gain more healthy years of healthy life. Give them a call, 615-288-4777 or invigoratehealthtn.com. That's 615-288-4777 and get on your path to weight loss today.
Wednesday.
Sliding across to make the save is Zeros. Who answers the rebound, he scores!
Finally, the Predators return to action on the road in Washington to take on former coach Peter Laviolette and the Capitals. Pre-game at 5, face-off at 6 on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention Nice List recipients. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here. Make this season your reason. Forget the halls, deck the garage. Hark, the turbo engines sing. Like hot cocoa in a blizzard, this opportunity won't last long. Hurry for these exclusive offers from Nashville's two-time Best of the Best award-winning Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Just one exit from the airport. Go to mbofmc.com.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and I want to talk to you about my friends at Creation CBD. You're hearing me talk about them every single day because they present Darren, Donick, and Chase, and we are proud to be associated with them and happy about it. And if you have aches and pains, on your body, whether it's from working out, being active, getting older, and you're looking for a solution, well, I've got it. Creation CBD. Creation means healing, and that says a lot. Creation is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here in Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sale, Creation is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use, including your pets. And you've heard me tell this story. Our female German Shepherd has had seizures for over 3 years, and lots of them. No matter how many pills a day she was on, the vet visits, nothing changed. But since putting her on the pet tincture, everything has changed. The seizures have stopped, she's lost weight, and she's a dog again. Right now, Creation CBD has got a special offer for DDC listeners. Go to CreationCompany.com, get 25% off your order by using the code DDC25 at checkout. DDC25 at checkout for 25% off your Creation CBD products. It's Creation CBD, curated for life.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Turn every Tuesday into payday with TNT Tuesdays on FanDuel. It doesn't matter win or lose, FanDuel is giving all customers $10 back every Tuesday, so bet $10 or more on a same-game parlay for any NBA on TNT game. So many NBA market options like player point totals, rebounds, assists, money line, over, under, you name it. You can put down a small bet and win big, and the odds are high, which result in great payouts. Win or lose, you're guaranteed to get $10 added to your account. FanDuel Sportsbook's easy to use. They've got odds boosts and specials and live betting, so you can just jump right in the middle of a game. And when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. Get $10 back every Tuesday, win or lose with TNT Tuesdays. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 and make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code JGM exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older in present Tennessee. Bonus issues non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Signs First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good. Really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Stillman & Company, we are delivered by TriStar Moving right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there, because I have not told people yet that you can, I think I have told all these people all these things.
Woohoo! We're
Crazy.
done.
No, I haven't. When the Preds have a weekday game this season, it's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka. If you guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game that night, you win a pair of tickets to a future Preds home game. Next chance to participate is tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. It's been forever since the Predators kept winning hockey games out of their rear end. COVID has just absolutely wrecked the NHL. The Predators, though, back on the road, taking on Peter Laviolette and the Washington Capitals tomorrow night. That coverage will start right here at 5 o'clock. Hal Gill joins us on the program as he normally does on Tuesdays. So, Hal, obviously you had a break just like everybody else did. You travel with the team. So what was kind of the break like to try to reset to get everybody right for COVID? And how hard was it to manage that as you guys hit the road today to go to Washington to get, essentially hockey life back underway?
Yeah, still lots of testing going on. That's one thing we're consistent with is lots of tests and quicker results. So I haven't heard any new cases as of yet, but it's always a fluid situation. So right now it looks good. We're in DC and we're ready to play, and hopefully this goes off without a hitch.
So what was this like when they said, okay, We're going to pause, and the Predators kind of got to it a little bit earlier because it's been about 2 weeks since the Preds have had a game. And so was it like, hey, guys, players and people like you, was it like, guys, we need you to basically stay at home for 2 weeks and not do anything and not get infected or did you just live like a normal life and just figured, you know what, when I get back to when they open the arena back up or Centennial or whatever it is, I'm going to get my nose poked, and if I get my nose poked, I'm not going to Washington, and if it comes back negative, then I'm going to Washington. Like, how did you approach all that?
Yeah, I think it's, for the most part, it's under the honest system, right? It's try to live life the right way, get into small circles. Obviously you're not going to be bouncing around in bars. You want to make sure that everyone is healthy and you're not passing along this whole thing because it seems to be ripping through the NHL pretty quick. And a lot of it, I know the NFL is trying to go without the testing. The NHL wants to do the same thing. I think Canada has a lot to say about that, and Canada is a different situation. So with the NHL being a big part of the deal and Canada being a big part of how we're going to operate, we have to follow their guidelines as well. So, it's locked down as much as you can and try to get through this, but it's a frustrating thing. I know for the players, they feel fine, and then all of a sudden they test positive, and you're gone for 10 days. And, as I said, a fluid situation, so I think a lot of these rules are going to change, and we're just trying to keep our head above water and get in as many games before these rules do change.
So when you say the rules may change, Hal Gill's with us, do you think they'll change for the better? Like in the NFL, now if you test positive for COVID, you're basically out for 5 days, and if you're better after 5 days, you're back in there. And you brought up Canada, and Canada is a lot more, they've been a lot more tighten the ship here than America has in general, and I don't foresee that changing, though I don't know that for a fact. Do you anticipate the rules being easier going forward, or do you anticipate them actually getting harder going forward?
I think there's a lot of the NHL looking around and trying to figure out what the right course of action is, not being foolish, but also they have fans in the stands. And, we want Bridgestone Arena to be packed and ready to go, and the fans are there and they're ready to go. So I know owners want to make money and they want to have games. So I think there's a delicate balance between saying, hey, we're going to move forward and get past this, but also keeping everyone's health and safety in their sights and not making any foolish decisions. So I think honestly it's minute to minute. I know it's in our broadcast crew, there's been, testing is going to be at this time. Now we're moving up testing. It's going to be an hour earlier so that we can find out the results before the flight. Little things like that they're trying to adjust. But ultimately, I think the NHL has got to reevaluate everything day by day to make sure that if there's a way that they can make these games happen, whether that's a 10-day quarantine to a 5-day quarantine, that makes a big difference. A lot of the players have been through this, so they have, 3 months of carte blanche. They can do whatever they want. And so you look at around the league, most of these players and teams have gone through their spell. And so can we get back to a normal atmosphere, a normal game plan? And, with the Olympics being out, can they squeeze more games in there and make those games up? Because I know the NHL wants to keep making money and keep getting players on the ice.
Hal Gill's our guest. The Predators were red hot before they had to pause it down. UC Saros playing out of his mind. That should translate no matter what. Guys in the lineup, guys out of the lineup. It was happening before kind of the shutdown happened, and there will be guys out of the lineup tomorrow against Washington, including Roman Josi. So, Hal, for you, how much of what they did before they took that pause is going to carry over tomorrow night and maybe into the new year?
Yeah, well, you look at the last two games. Colorado was kind of a mess. I mean, we're looking at two AHL lineups predominantly, and Colorado didn't even have a full roster. You're taking a guy like Makar out, Darcy Kemper out of the lineup right before the game starts. So that was kind of a mess, and the Preds found a way to win that. And then you go to Chicago with a depleted lineup, and you get Borowiecki out of the lineup right in the last second, and they beat a Chicago team that was pretty much fully loaded. So they're finding ways to win. That's the fun part about this team is no matter who they get, the next man up mentality, they're finding ways to plug guys in and win, even without the coaching staff, the whole coaching staff out. Carl Taylor and his group comes in and finds a way to win that game. And it's impressive the way they've kind of come around and play a system and believe in that system and find ways to win. So I don't think it'll be a problem to get back into it. I do think there's going to be a problem for every NHL team. They've been off the ice for so long. It's going to be tough to just pick up where they left off. So it's going to be kind of a mess, I think, until everyone gets into a rhythm again. But with the structure that they have and the system that they have, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to continue this run that they're on. But talk about bad timing to be on a 7-game heater and then have to shut it down for way too long.
You know what's crazy? Hal Gill's our guest here, is that Derrick Henry, like the Titans could have, they could be playing for 4 weeks with Derrick Henry running the ball, and then all of a sudden they go on the road to a blizzard, and the flight gets delayed, and this, that, but it doesn't matter. Derrick Henry will still be able to run the ball. Wherever, whenever, he'll be able to run the ball. I get the feeling with UC Saros that even with this little shutdown, he'll still be the same guy that he was at the start of this season and really threw that heater. And I know that sometimes he's been a slow starter in the past. I feel like that might be behind him. And if there's anything that I could bank to right now with, to your point, going to be sloppy play and guys not in shape and guys not playing together, if you've got the best goaltending, that may be what carries you over the top while all this crap's going on around it. I mean, do you expect that from Saros starting tomorrow night, but continuing on the fact that he's been pretty rock solid in net? Because I am assuming that he's going to keep playing great in net while all this other stuff happens.
Yeah, well, the thing about Saros, and I'm not super into the goaltending finesse, but I talk to, you talk to Chris Mason, and he'll tell you all about. He's right next to me, waving. He's proud. He's proud that I've given him a shout out. But you talk to Mason, and he'll tell you about the technical side of Saros and how he relies on his angles and his positioning so much. That's not being in a rhythm. That's just being good at what you do. And I think you take a guy like him who can count on that, and he can translate that into wins. I think that's a huge part of his game. He's been more athletic, I think, in this year. I think he's a little more comfortable in his position and is willing to make those athletic saves. But he's been so rock solid on his mechanics and getting across the crease and being quick in that regard and being so technically sound that I think he can pick up where he left off. As a player, it's a little different where you need to feel it. You need your hands to come around. You need your legs going. As a goalie, I think you can rely on that technical side a little bit more. So I think that in the end, goaltending always wins games, and especially when you've got guys out of the lineup, you're going to need timely saves, and Juice has given him that. And so there's no reason why he can't go out and keep doing it.
Hal Gill, tomorrow night, the Predators are back at it. He'll be right here, 6 o'clock, as the Preds take on Peter Laviolette and the Washington Capitals. Harold, appreciate it. Have a good time. Tell C. Mace I said, hey, take good care of yourself, and I'll tell Caroline that you said hi for you. How about that?
No, I need to tell Caroline. I need to say hi. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, Hal. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I hope everything's well with you.
Hal a happy New Year.
Why do I need to be careful wishing Hal a Happy New Year?
Because sometimes Hal, oversteps his boundaries, and I just, want to make sure he has a regular New Year.
We'll bring it in the right way. We'll bring
good
it in
old
the right
average
way.
New Year.
There you go.
It's going to be a good one, guys. Cheers.
Yep. Hal Gill on the road with the Predators. And I got to say this. I would be scared to death if I was traveling with the team.
Uh-huh.
Because even though anybody can get this and anybody can give this to anybody, like the guy who got me sick, he was really apologetic like last year when I got it. And he didn't try. But I'd be scared to death to be the one that it's like, oh yeah, you're the one that got the whole team.
You're the one that started it all. But you have a risk walking outside of your front door every single day.
So one of my friends is hosting one of the New Year's things.
Oh, nice.
Like the CBS New Year's.
Yeah.
So one of my friends is hosting that. And she invited me over to their house, her family and her husband's family, they are getting together for Christmas. And they invited me over because they know, like, I'm the one Jewish guy on Christmas. And so, like, and I was really glad to go. But then I was worried because it's like, if I have COVID and don't know that I have COVID and give her COVID, then she's not going to be hosting the New Year's special on CBS. And I didn't want to do that. Like, so then I got really nervous.
Did you go?
I did go.
Okay, good.
And
well,
as of right now,
fun.
knock on wood, but there have been
keep my fingers crossed for you
no,
and her.
No issues. Caroline's is next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Showers and a couple rumbles of thunder possible as we head through the overnight, with temperatures dropping to the low 60s, low 70s Wednesday. A chance of strong to severe storms, mainly 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening. I'm Fox 17 Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, what's going on? It's Chase McCabe here once again to tell you about BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. They welcome you with a special offer on the NBA. All you have to do is place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. And if either team hits a 3, you'll win $200 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use that bonus code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet. Enjoy NBA action like never before with BetMGM's live betting options, boosted odds specials, and daily promotions at your fingertips all season long. Just download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 in free bets if a three-pointer is made in the game that you wager on. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Hi, guys. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The Wave technology at Hillside Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction today and get your love life back just in time for the holidays. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities, where every Saturday is an opportunity on the road to greatness. No matter if you're out there playing your hardest or cheering the loudest from the sidelines, tailgating in the parking lot, or your favorite spot to watch the game, Goodyear knows passion is what drives us forward all the way to the playoffs. That's the road that moves us. Goodyear, more driven.
Darren McFarland.
That should get you in the mood for a game tonight.
Willie Donick.
I think between 5.5 and 6 is probably in the ballpark.
Chase McCabe.
Typically, I like to take the most difficult task and do it first.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curation CBD on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company, it's time now for Caroline's.
Get in on the action. Put the money on the mahogany. What's on tap on the sports books? It's time to break it all down with Caroline's. here on Stillman and Company
on ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now, the Holiday Bowl was canceled tonight. UCLA pulling out against NC State. The Liberty Bowl is going on right now. Mike Leach taking on Texas Tech, which will be interesting. But we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight at 9:15 in Phoenix, West Virginia, taking on the Golden Gophers. Give me Minnesota minus 4.5. So Minnesota's covered 6 of their last 8 games. They're averaging nearly 200 yards on the ground, and they rank 3rd in the Big Ten, 28th nationally in rushing offense. But on the other side, as for West Virginia, they're 1-3 against the spread in their last 4 games, despite only going 2-2 in those last 4 games. West Virginia's won 4 of its last 9, and of those wins, only 3 of them were only a 1-score game. So West Virginia hasn't been too thrilling so far this season. Minnesota is 4-1 on the road. That's one of their greatest strengths and also one of West Virginia's biggest weaknesses on the season. The spread's only 4.5. Some sportsbooks have it at 5.5, but either way, I take Minnesota against the spread.
If PJ Fleck's ever going to be the next Urban Meyer like Joe Rexrode once predicted in the Tennessean, then he's going to need to start winning some of these games.
He's more of a Butch Jones than he is anything else.
That's going to do it for us. We're out of here. Moneyline Chase and Elijah. That's next. We'll see you all tomorrow, too.